Oh yeah. We've been What up, y'all? Come on in here. Press the number one if you can, or one of them damn buttons if you can hear me. Oh, let me turn my radio down. Press one of them damn buttons if you can hear me. Twitter space shit been tripping lately. That last Twitter space wasn't about nothing. What's up, Evan? What's up, Kid Gravity, Quan? I want y'all to rate. If y'all want to speak, just raise your hand because I don't. I'm not gonna. Of course, I'm gonna dominate the conversation because I talk all the goddamn time. But I want to hear what y'all got to say. And to have a discussion too. Because I want to talk about the state of Black America. What's going on? We're gonna let a few people in here, but as people pile in, I do want to ask a critical question. I just thought about this, and I'm gonna get to the topic in about 30 seconds. But I had this question, and I want y'all to think about it, like for real, for real. When midgets die, do they go to? Is it like a midget heaven, or like when midgets die, do they get a regular body? Like, do midgets have to go to heaven and still be midgets, or do they get to be regular body when they get to heaven? I don't know where that thought came from. I'm not even high yet. But yeah, it just came out of nowhere. You did? I don't know. Like that would be messed up, wouldn't it? Like if you lived your whole life a midget life, and then you finally die and go to heaven, and you still 2'9". You can't even you can't even walk the streets of gold. Whatever. My bad. I'm just running my mouth. But anyway, what's up, Kid Gravity? Um, I'm gonna get to you in a second, but I do want to just lay the foundation down on what we're talking about. You know what's going on in America right now is a lot of things going on. There was a report released today here in LA about the crime statistics from 2021, and they compared the crime stats to 2022. I just tweeted it, and oh yeah, I forgot I can't put this stuff up in a jumbotron, can I'm still learning how to work this Twitter space thingy. Um,
Yo, Dwan just go into that whatever tweet it is and put the share button. And the Twitter space
there
should
we
be on the
go.
top.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. I just did it. Thanks, man. Cause I was just looking at it like, as soon as you said it, it was like, okay, that was it. So I want to lay this foundation, and then I want to hear what y'all got to say. Um, and so in LA, I just put it up in the Tron. Black Americans, although only 9% of the population, are 40% of the hate crime victims. Hate crimes against Black America, there was more than it went. They increased by 60 hate crimes over the last year, but Asians are the ones getting the attention. They're getting the bills. You see the crimes again. You can add up crime against LGBTQ and Asians, and it still wouldn't come up to half of what Black people have gone through in the city. And so we see that going on. We see what's going on over in Georgia with Warnock. You got the plantation Negroes over there celebrating like they just won something. So I want we see that element going on. You got Warnock winning in Georgia, but you can't ask one Black person that's celebrating what that means tangibly for us. And then you also got Black folks debating over Deion Sanders and what he should and shouldn't do. And it seems like Deion Sanders is getting more heat for leaving that school than Brett Favre got for sitting from the state of Mississippi. So I kind of want to talk about just a mixture of all those topics, because there's a lot of movement going on right now in Black America. So I want to hear you guys' opinion, and let's have a roundtable discussion about that. Kid Gravity, you got your hand up. Welcome, Nikki. I appreciate you for co-hosting. I know if you got somewhere to go, just let me know. But I just sent you the mic, the co-host thing, because it's like, shit, you Nikki, why not? Ha! Nikki great at what she do, so I appreciate you. And if you want to, if you got a bounce, just let me know. But I want to start off with Kid Gravity. What's up, Star? What's up, Quan? Everybody up down there. And Kid Gravity, what's your opinion on what's going on? I see you got your hand up, and then we can go from there.
Well, I'm down here in Georgia, and I ain't happy that Warnock won because I know what that means. Them Democrats are pissed off at Georgia right now. They're gonna take money out the state. them Asians, they found another way to take over Atlanta. We in trouble down here. And all these Negroes doing that plantation jubilee buck dancing don't even realize in 2024 this state is going to look way different than it is now. There's going to be a whole bunch of more illegals down here. 'Cause they're already killing Maryland. They're moving them down here now. But they want to try to move it into South Carolina. So we're going to be the gateway to that. But we have enough on-call brothers and sisters down here. We can fight that off as much as we can. But unfortunately, also we got a lot of the tether class coming down here too, because Texas is now a no-go zone. Because a lot of them, especially the Caribbeans, used to go over there, but now they're coming to Georgia. So yeah, the next 2 years are going to be a bumpy ride, but as long as we stay on code and try to mitigate as much of Warnock damage as we can, we should be okay for 2026, where we can try to get a black grassroots candidate into that governor seat. But just look out for us, and we still gonna be here, and I'm gonna do my damnedest to make sure that Georgia stays as much Georgia as it can.
I got a question for you real quick. Then I'm gonna get to you, Nikki. I got a question for you real quick, Kid Gravity. I'm not in Georgia. I'm only able to observe Georgia from a distance. And in 2020, I was disappointed in Georgia, specifically Atlanta, for not re-electing Paul Howard and bringing in that Fannie Willis chick. And from California, all I saw was, dudes in size 15 heels wearing dresses and celebrating and shit. And I'm like, this does not look like the Atlanta of Outcasts. This don't even look like the Atlanta I went to and visited back in 2008. Like, what the F? Like, so between 2 years ago when that happened and now, yes, Warnock got in, but you see it's a big difference in how people are like looking at things just in 2 short years over down in Georgia. What's your takeaway as far as like the rise in consciousness down there over the last few years?
Niggas still playing too much down here. They're not serious. They only come serious when it gets close to the election time. The only the
Mm-hmm.
only good thing that came out of this, and I said this months ago, if Stacey Abrams lost that election, the IRS and the government are gonna go start subpoenaing records, and they're gonna start investigating her new Georgia project. And that's exactly what they're doing, because they announced the shit yesterday.
Oh shit!
So, oh yeah, because they're saying that her company was obtaining funds from other states without a license. It's about to get rough. They're about to break that tool, which is good, but Atlanta is about to get a serious attack.
She was
So
she was siphoning off money, and
no, it's not that she was siphoning it. They were still raising funds through Act Blue, which
oh,
is
the
like
Black Blue. Okay, okay.
The Democrat fund. But you need a license to do that. So she was getting funds. She had outposts like as far as Colorado.
Oh wow.
But their license ran out on the 15th of November, but they were still collecting funds.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so now the government and the IRS are coming after her now. So the next 6 months are going to be interesting, especially with Fannie Wills, because
Yeah.
like you said, they fucked up with Paul Howard, Fannie Wills. It depends. If she goes after Stacey, then I know, you know what? Somebody said, you know what, she's useless. If they sweep that under the rug and she just pays this bullshit fine, then that just confirms that Georgia's on the chopping block.
Cool, man. Thanks for the information, man. So, well, maybe Stacey Abrams, she has hope of getting out of this because maybe she could say she was raising funds to close that gap in her teeth, and that maybe that'll be enough to get her out of this. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, Nikki, I see you had your hand up earlier. I know
No,
you.
I was waving at people in the audience. I was saying peace to everybody. I didn't have my hand up.
Okay.
I'm going to be kind of quiet because I'm doing something, but I want to help moderate here, but I just can't talk much if that's okay with you. Otherwise, I can step down if you want me to.
No, you good. You good.
Thank you.
To show. So, but yeah, if you want to speak, then you can go ahead and come up and send out an invite because I want to hear what's going on in the state of Black America where you are because it's a lot going on. But one thing I do want to say is this: I do see the rising consciousness that's happening with us. I just like because I have to acknowledge, just like we see people celebrating Stacey Abrams, we're seeing a lot of people say, "Man, this election ain't about shit." And just like we see people celebrate Warnock, we're seeing people, say Warnock ain't shit. So I'm not one of the people who want to stay stuck on old cliches of the past to sound relevant today. You know what I mean? I want to make sure we update our quote unquote cliches, update the things that we say, because I do see things trending in the right direction. But let's go back to talking about. Let's start off. I want to talk about this Deion Sanders thing for a minute. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, but I ain't really been talking about it much because honestly, I thought it would have been over by now. I that's why I didn't say anything. I was like, I thought it would last for a day or two, and then be on to the next story. I didn't think cats would still be talking about it, and so I want you guys' perspective. Because you guys are down south. I'm on the West Coast now. I have a lot of friends who attended HBCUs. Like half my high school went to an HBCU out of high school. A lot of HBCUs used to come down to my church year in and year out and recruit. And I've studied a lot of the history of the HBCUs and everything, so I'm fairly familiar with it. But at the end of the day, I don't live down there, and I don't live in an environment to where like most of the people around me went to an HBCU. So the discussion with the whole Deion thing has been, he's leaving HBCUs behind. And I'm kind of disappointed in Black America a little bit because I'm seeing this overwhelming support for HBCUs, and my question is, okay, if cats support HBCUs like that, where are the records of y'all donating to these HBCUs and keeping them doors open so they can pay somebody like a Deion Sanders? Because them white folks that and I'm not comparing us to them, but sometimes you gotta see what's going on out there in the world around you to understand what's going on in your immediate world. We're not Harvard has over $40 billion like in its coffers. You know what I mean? And I get, HBCUs haven't put out anyone that can make as much money as Harvard. I get it, but they still have put out a lot of successful people. And the lack of money coming in to me is very disappointing when you compare that to the amount of people who have raged for Deion Sanders for making more money. If it wasn't about the money, people, in my opinion, would be donating more. Like, what impact for you guys that are down there near HBCUs? What sort of local impact are they having down there? Like, what do you see, or what kind of outreach programs do they have for the youth? What employment opportunities are available for you guys down south for people that went to HBCUs? What's the environment? What HBCUs are they something that's really really necessary, or is it something or is it something that you see them losing their functioning? I want to know you guys' opinion on that. I see Eve, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Peace to the room. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this topic. As a graduate of an HBCU from a secondary schooling, I found that it was lacking, and it was really saddening because I had this thought that I would be at this Black place with these Black people, and that it would just be this community of learning, and it wasn't. And that's okay because things are what you make it. However, what you said about Harvard and how much people donate, I think that if the school isn't investing in you, then you won't necessarily invest in it. And to that point, I don't know if you saw in May, Hampton University, that's not my alumni, but Hampton University was offering free room and board to the Ukrainians. And it's like,
yeah, I forgot
y'all are going all out of your way to do all this other stuff for these other people. And then you wonder why we're not supporting y'all. And it's like, y'all are a bill, literally. Like I have student loans. Like I owe for my degree that isn't paying anyway. So I've got a real qualm with that. But I don't know if it's HBCUs aren't even run by us. They're run by them other people who fled from their homes. And then you look at the state of their home and it's like, shit, you left it in this dilapidated state. And then you're coming over here and people are saying, well, why aren't we, who it's made for doing more about it. And it's like, y'all aren't even giving us the admin positions and the teaching positions, the tenure position. It's just, I don't know. It seems like hurting people. And I'm sorry, like I am not going to give back to a place that I'm still paying for if I didn't get any value other than this degree that I'm paying for. Like, no, at Harvard, I'm sorry, I keep saying Howard. At Harvard, that those people who graduate have name recognition that pays. And even if they do have student loans, they're getting something because they went to this established place. I can't use that for the school that I went to. Not saying I'm not proud to have gone there, but I'm just saying it doesn't come with the same oomph. Okay. Thank you for letting me speak on this topic.
Yeah, I appreciate that because it's funny you said that because like me, I saw this hustle back when I was in high school. My sister went to college before me, so when she was going through the whole college thing, recruitment thing, she's 4 years older than me. I was able to see a lot of the what was going on, see the cost. I remember how much college cost when I saw my sister going through it versus how much it cost by the time it was my turn to go to college. And I was just in my mind like, oh man, something about this shit's a hustle. And they were always trying to come down to us. My church they were always coming to my church and also my high school. Hampton used to come there a lot. Johnson C. Smith, Philander Smith, Tuskegee, Prairie View, Florida A&M, all the Grambling. I had a lot of friends they either went to Grambling or Southern, and they used to always come, and they would always talk about having this experience. It's about having this experience, and something in the back of my head will be like, well, if I do go get the Black college experience, I'll be 22 when I'm done. And if I live till 80, that's 4 years of the rest of my life with an experience. But what tangibly is that experience going to pay me when it comes down to dollars? And that's when I just say, you know what, I'm gonna stay here in LA. And I went to junior college first, and then went to Cal State Northridge, and got my degree from Cal State Northridge. And with that being said, Cal State Northridge, those it was still college. Like my degree, they didn't give me anything. I earned it. Like I didn't cheat. When I went to class every day. I studied. Well, in between partying, I studied. I did just enough to get that piece of paper, but they didn't give me shit. So you're not gonna see no Cal State Northridge nothing around here. The same thing with my wife. My wife, I look at the difference between my Cal State Northridge degree, and she went to Duke and got a degree from Duke. And when she would go on job interviews or push it out there, first thing they would see is Duke, and they would be like, "Oh shit, yeah, we gonna what's happening?" You know what I mean? And I saw her college recognition versus mine, and it made me happy that I didn't spend all that damn money on college, and I paid my way through cash. But with that being said, I don't see any goddamn reason to have no school spirit. What's the point? You know what I mean? I've always sort of laughed because one of my best friends went to Grambling, and I just remember seeing all of the school spirit, with the Grambling people, with the cats that went to the HBCUs. What's up? Gotta sign this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man. Thanks.
And it's crazy. I was gonna ask for your ID, but you was drawing that.
You have a good one, young man. FedEx just came. This motherfucker dropping off my wine. Well, anyway, I saw that. I was able to really see that. But it's no real reason to have school pride. But like here in LA, like all of my HBCU friends that came back, it's like this is big sense of pride. And then when Kamala Harris was running, I'm going to run because they went to an HBCU, and I'll be looking around like, okay, what the fuck did the HBCU give you to have all this damn pride? I got a degree. Now I look at my degree and say, F you, you cost me way too much money relative to what you got me in return. What is this? Black America? Is it something? What's up with us that makes us cats be and they goddamn, like I know a lot of HBCU guys here in LA. I can't speak for the South, but in LA, these cats be coming around, they be 60 years old talking about their HBCU and they frat. I'll be like, God damn it, you talking about your HBCU and frat, but you ain't got the HBCU and frat didn't teach you to create an organization that can give jobs to the youth coming up. You just got a good job at the county somewhere. And it's just, what's Black America? Is it time that we re-examine our relationship with HBCUs? Real talk. Nikki, I see you got your hand up.
I think what's happening is it's kind of like the same programming that we are fed when we're told that we died for the right to vote.
Yes.
We're,
Oh my God. I'm so happy you said that.
yeah, and I think that we are programmed to think that these people are on God's level, and that we owe them something. And you know what? I always felt that foundational Black Americans should get free room and board, that they shouldn't even have to pay tuition to those colleges. But it just seems as if everybody I know who's gone to an HBCU is in debt. So that's something to look at. A lot of people are talking in the background about, how about we just give these colleges a second chance? But I don't know how to feel, because how can we give them a second chance if they're not giving back to us and they're giving to people like Ukraine? Just a thought.
That's some real talk right there. What can we do if they're not giving anything back to us? And as a people, how do we put all of that pressure on Deion Sanders to stay at a school where he's giving up half of his salary, that in a state that ain't cleaning up his damn water? You know what I mean? And I get the sentiments of wanting to push the HBCUs forward. I'm 100,000%. Me personally, I ain't jumping in on that, because I don't believe in pushing none of these goddamn colleges forward. These universities have had a good intense 30. When did school days come out? Late 80s. Then a different world. Since then, Black folks have been all up in these universities. And what are the tangible results in the lab? We have a 35-year case study to study from, where we were then versus now. So my thing is, okay, if all these people who are mad at Deion, if it's that important, what have you been doing this whole time to support HBCUs to make sure that they have enough money to keep a Deion Sanders? What have you been doing to make sure the next Black coach that comes to an HBCU, he doesn't have to give up half of his salary? Because why do Black people got to be the poor righteous teachers? Why do the ones, if you're really good at something, why we got to be the ones that sacrifice what we have for the betterment of other Black people? When are Black people going to get to the point and be like, you know what? I see that person got $1 million, but I got $10. So if out of this million, he donate 50 grand, and out of my $20, I donate $2 or $1. If we doing it like that, then that's something different. But it seems like we just sit around and wait on one nigga. And when that one nigga makes a decision to better himself, all of a sudden he's a sellout to all of us. But I see we have another speaker that just came up. Dante, go ahead.
Hey, peace to the room. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
So, like, my question was really, because I don't really know a lot about the HBCUs, but I wanted to understand kind of like, is it a problem, like, as far as with the leadership, how it's been run, and then how can, like, individuals become part of the board of trustees? Like, do you have to be a graduate of the college? Like, what is your level of interaction that you have to have on the HBCU to actually be a part of the leadership or management? Because it seems to me like there's a real bad management issue, and I've seen that with a lot of Black organizations, that a lot of the problem is it's just badly managed. Like we're not managing it properly.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing too, that not being managed. And it's a top-down thing. On one hand, not being managed properly. On another hand, being underfunded. And then look what happened with Howard. You had the whole scandal going on with Howard, where you still have, even though the school's supposedly underfunded, you have somebody siphoning off money. So it's a mixture of it all. You know what I mean? And it's not to say, because I went to Cal State Northridge, that shit was poorly run too, a white institution. So I don't want to isolate it and make it seem as if it's only Black institutions that are poorly run. White institutions are poorly run all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Every time you look up, it's a Trump university or something like that shutting down, losing accreditation because the white folks said one thing and did something different. So we got to know that. I don't. That's why I don't want to make it seem like I'm piling on the HBCUs or anything like that. But we do need to answer these questions. Like, if it is that important, this brother asked a good question. How do you get on the board of trustees? If people are so mad at Deion Sanders for what he did, and he was this and that, what moves that you make as an individual to be a part of the board of trustees? And I'm not here to say that, all of us got to be perfect. I'm not saying that everybody has to fight the good fight. Most people just sort of live their life day to day. But if you're going to be all up in that man's pockets, the first thing you got to do is look in yours first and see what's up. That's all I'm saying. But I see we got another speaker in here. Go ahead.
Princess Obey, you can unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you say my name. So, peace to the room, DB. Peace to you. I want to say about the HBCUs. That's a network for Black academia, and they have their network. I feel like it's a high production of the Boule class, possibly. You know, and they take care of their own. I'm married into a huge HBCU family, so all my ex-in-laws went to HBCUs, sent their children to Spelman and Morehouse and all those type of things. They have a clear network, and for their entrepreneurial aspects of their life. But other than that, that's the network. You know what I mean? Uh, it's not connected to the outside network like a Harvard or a Yale would be connected to, if that makes sense. They take care of their own, so that's how I
And
look at it.
that's thank you for that, because that's really what my question is about. Because I'm on the West Coast, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know all the intricacies of what's going on just because I had a few friends and family members who graduated from down there, and I read a couple books and papers, but so I'm not gonna be that dude acting like I know it all. That's why I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going on down on the streets locally, how they impacting the community, and that makes a lot of sense what you're saying right there, because what I see, even from the Black people out here, when it comes to I see they have their networks out here, and they're more giving out here because it's not enough for them to really run anything. So they do, when you do see them, they do, they're not going to make it exclusive just to someone who went to their university. But out here, I remember growing up in the hood, UCLA was always at my school. My school was like 15 miles from the US from UCLA. Matter of fact, USC was I grew up a lot closer to USC. USC was like 3 miles from me, and UCLA was like 15 miles from me. But UCLA was always at my school. It was always an act, even to this day. Sports programs, tutoring programs. You see UCLA students all over this city being the after school tutors, being the people who volunteer for this, volunteer for that. So it's like when I see here a school like UCLA, who has trillions of dollars available to it, they're still out here getting students to volunteer and reach out to the local schools, because you need we all need certain hours to graduate college and community service. And so, are those type programs going on down south with the HBCUs? Let me know. Eve, you go ahead and speak then, but let me know. Are those type programs, outreach programs, going on down south?
Outreach programs. Let's talk about reaching out. I put in the Jumbotron, the brother asked about how do you get on the board of trustees, or how do you get on the board in the HBCU, and it seems like you got to know somebody to know somebody. And Miss Heidi Abbott was appointed to the board at Norfolk State University. That's an HBCU in Norfolk. And I don't know that she should be on that board. But if we are allowing these types of things to happen on our
She look
behalf,
like Charles Barkley's wife. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, at this point, if it's an HBCU and then the people who are running the HBCU aren't even supposed to have been allowed to go to the school, but then you can go and get affirmative action. I've spoken about this before. I've had peer educators, white ones, who went to HBCUs, got their scholarship, and I didn't get that same scholarship at the same school. Like, the fuck is going on? But I don't know. We've allowed people to take over our shit. We talked about that in your music space the other day. We leave shit alone, but maybe we leave shit alone that's not for us, because I think the whole premise of the HBCU was this boule type of caste system. If you don't have certain credentials, then you're not relevant. and we got to take on these people's credentials because that's what they said was relevant. Sorry for the background noise, but um, yeah, if you want to get on the board, I guess you got to know somebody to know somebody. You might be having to be a palm-colored person for it to even stick. And if you don't look like the people that you're serving, you're probably not going to serve them well. Or at least that's what's been happening.
Yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying right there. Because yeah, dang, I didn't even see this. Yeah, they straight got. She look like somebody on one of them Lifetime movies. She looks like a bad principal on a Hallmark Channel movie, where like she's that principal that's out at the same time. They have her out there. And she's getting into affairs with clients' fathers and shit. Then she kills them at the end of the movie. That's who she looked like. I've seen her on a Hallmark movie before, and they got her coming in here running eight. Then you got the whole thing with Howard and all of the Africans that are going out here. Africans are basically taking over Howard. See, this is the reason why I'm having this conversation. Is because we as a people, we got to be solution oriented, and as a solution oriented group of people, we don't look at one person and put them as the reason everything either works or fails. We love to make people gods when it works. We love to make them the reason why things fail. We don't ever like to say, okay, what can we do as a community? It's smart. Some of us do, but that's something that we have to come around to. If Since HBCUs is the topic this week and Deion Sanders is the face of HBCUs, what are the overall things that need to be fixed to address the issues of HBCUs? And so we got to make sure that we ask that question and see what it is that if HBCUs mean that much to us, what can we as a group do? Do we support them? Do we kick them to the side? Do we let them fail, then rebuild them after they fail? To me, the way I'm looking at HBCUs, I'm looking at them the same way I look at church. Very functional, very necessary for a time and period of life. But both have lost focus on their primary goal. Both the church and both HBCUs have lost the focus on who they're here to serve. And since they've lost that focus on who they're here to serve, they've been getting served up by niggas not really fucking with them no more. That's the way I see it. But at the same time, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because they are institutions, and institutions can be corrected. But that has to be corrected from within and then by the people who are around it. And we can't just sit idly by until Deion Sanders decides to leave to bring up HBCUs. I don't know who is next speaking, but if Eve, Nick, whoever was next.
It's Princess, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
Oh, hey, I wanted to say real quick with my experience, and I'm not pledged or anything to a sorority or anything like that. I went to a HBCU my first year of college, and then I graduated from Cal State LA. I was in the South, and I didn't like where I was. I was a California girl in the South, and I just didn't fit into that.
A whole lot of my friends came back.
You know?
Yeah, you know.
But my experience with HBCU students and adults has been one of you go to their events, and if you're not part of their sorority, and they know who's part of it because it's a network like that. And like I want to agree with Just E, when you got to know somebody, they will never let you on the board if you're not HBCU. You could forget about that. And also when you go to their events and they get to taking their pictures and they throwing up their gang signs, which, if you're not part of them, they'll literally not let you in the picture. Will not let you take a picture with them because they're tagging, deltas and all that kind of stuff. They look down on people. And like you said, DB, they have lost their way. I know both of my ex-sister-in-laws did a lot of outreach and volunteering, but they've been quiet lately. They've been very quiet, and their kids went to Howard, and it was traumatic because of the housing and all that kind of stuff that happened to them. And now they're not bragging about these situations anymore. You know what I mean? So I didn't like the fact that they look down on other Black people that's not part of their fraternities. I didn't like that at all.
That sounds like church because if you go to church and you're not part of the Second Alto, uh, quartet, and you want to join the alto quartet, if you ain't cool with Miss Shirlene, you ain't gonna get up in that motherfucker. Okay? They gonna give you all the
Exactly.
bad songs. Same story over and over, same shit, different toilet. I shit is and that's something that speaks to us as a people. You know, a lot of we gatekeep the wrong people. Look, this between what Eve just said and what Princess just said. They let y'all go ahead and let this haggardly looking ex-WNBA looking chick be on the board of trustees at the HBCU. But when it comes to a black person, if they're not part of your little bullshit ass network, then they got to go through hell and high water just to kiss your ass. That's something that we got to fix from within. Eve, you got your hand up, so of course you get priority. Then we're gonna go to the next speaker. Go
Much
ahead, Eve.
respect. Thank you. I don't ever want to cut anybody off in a not my space. But to Princess's point, look, I very proudly say that I am divorced from Delta. And not that I didn't make connections with the women that I was online with, not that I didn't make connections with the women who crossed us or whatever. I made connections, and I love who I love or whatever. We cool if we're cool, but if we're not, there's a reason. And the reason to be divorced from Delta is what you just said. That whole, if you aren't in my clique, you're not cool. That that's some high school shit that just seems to have been something that carried on from slavery. So yeah, I said high school, but really I mean that this is some like epigenetic trauma that we had, that we wanted to separate ourselves away from us. And the only way to do it was through this Greekdom thing. And I saw very thorough Black women that should have been able to bend whatever Greek letters that they wanted to rep based off of the principles and such they say that they are founded on, that were not allowed to be in that group. And it's like, so what are you looking for? But you're looking for people who know somebody who knows somebody. But that whole boule crowd of it all, or the whole buffer class. I think that's really what I'm looking for. The buffer class. That's what they've done with the Greeks. That's what they've done with the HBCUs in general. It's created this buffer class between what's real and what's fake. And if you buy into that, then you will vote blue no matter who, because you don't know which way to go. And all of that shit's connected. It's all connected. So I think, like Dwan said, I don't necessarily think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater, but some institutions weren't made for us, even though it looked like it was for us. We are in a great opportunity right now to create our own shit. People who have stuff can do stuff if they want to do stuff. And if they don't want to do stuff, don't. But I think we should stop looking at other people to do stuff. We got to stop that shit. The pocket watching, you got it, so you can do it. Nah, you want it, you do it. And if you can't do it, then you need to work harder and do that until you can do whatever it is you want to do.
That is some real talk right there, Eve. I'm gonna get to you, Dante, 1 second, but I gotta make this point. I don't want to lose it. When you're talking about our institutions and when it comes to us, damn it, I lost it. So shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. Dante, you speak, and if I remember after you speak, and I get back on it. Go ahead, Dante. Deontay. What's it, Dante? Deontay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask just Eve because I saw she posted that. Is that just the way that the trustees are appointed, or is that like a special situation where the governor of of wherever it was that they appointed that position to the college, or is that the norm that
I'm
the
glad you
governor
asked.
is who appoints?
I don't know if it's the norm, but I posted the link where I got it from, and every single person on that board was appointed by some governor of Virginia at some point. So whether it's Northam or Youngkin or whatever, all of those people seem to have been appointed. So it doesn't even seem like you have to have gone there. And maybe Heidi did go there, but I already told y'all, white people go to HBCUs all the time, get scholarships and everything. So like, she could have gone there, and now she's on the board of an historically Black college or university. And that math
That
ain't nothing to me.
that ain't mathing. I remember what I want to say now. That's a good question, Deontay. But I remember what I want to say now. Buffer class. Eve, you spoke to buffer class. You, man, I hit mute. My bad. But you spoke to buffer classes, Eve, and we got to remember the intent of the reason why it's not all HBCUs, but some. Let me just combine a couple things, and then we're gonna get back to the people out there. You have universities like Howard and Fisk that were created to be buffer class schools. Those were schools that were created for the mulatto offspring of these slave masters that were too black to go to Harvard, but they didn't necessarily want them with them dark-skinned Negroes down in Tuskegee and other places. So you create schools like Fisk as a brown paper bag test as buffer class as school, and so these institutions that it just historically this is what happened. Not at all HBCUs, but at a lot. And so we see that when we see that psychology still playing out today. You know what I mean? These psychology between the better Negroes and the lower class Negroes. You know, like I look at it like I talk to Dr. Short a lot. You know, he tells me about that issue going on over in DC and PG County and things like that. And I also look at it like over here in LA. I remember it was like that for like my parents talk about it being like that back in the 70s and maybe in the 80s. But by the time we got to the 90s and the 2000s, man, the Ladera Heights cats and the cats in the jungles, it was like, hey, we started to realize here that, you know, all that inner fighting between better class Negroes and lower class Negroes, that wasn't it. You know what I mean? Because we was getting squeezed out of everything by these Mexicans. So the Mexicans in the 90s kind of got LA people to sort of get on their act between the high class Negroes and the low class Negroes. It's like nowadays, if you black, I don't give a damn what school you went to. If you light skinned, dark skinned, got missing tooth, if you could do something, I got you, because we see all these Mexicans and Asians coming around here taking up everything. So maybe that's what it'll take to bring people together. Maybe all these that governor up there in Maryland, the new governor, that with no mustache and no beard, I don't trust cats like that. That too clean shaven. I don't trust these electric eel looking niggas. And y'all elected him up there in Maryland. But you see, he's about to bring in all these immigrants like Georgia. Kid Gravity was talking about it earlier. Them coming into South Carolina and Georgia. Sometimes when you see these other groups come in, what it does is it forces black people to get on code. Here in LA, I'm not saying we got on code because we just were smarter than the rest of the nation. We just got dumped with a shitload of Mexicans out of nowhere and had to. You know what I mean? So maybe that can be a benefit long term as long as we get on code faster than we got on. Here in LA, we should have gotten on code in the 80s. By the time we got on code in the late 90s, 2000s, it was a little bit too late. You know what I mean? So, you know, hopefully the rest of the nation sees these warnings from what we're going through. And as you guys get all these immigrants dumped in on you, you take heed to what we're talking about and then start getting rid of a lot of these differences. And maybe these HBCUs crashing and burning the way they are is going to go a long way into that. So that maybe that could be something. Sometimes you got to destroy something and make it rise back up. That's what the hell, that's all the Phoenix means, the Phoenicians, the Phoenix, you know, that's rising from the ashes. You know, burn the shit down, build it back up. And so that might be where we are. But if you have a comment you want to make sure you hit the request button. The mods will bring you in and you'll get a chance to speak. But what's going on right now with the HBCU thing, and then also with the Warnock thing, what we're really starting to see is, you know, that civil war that we've been needing to have within Black America since the end of slavery is finally bubbling up and coming up. It bubbled up in the 50s, you know, and it's bubbling up again. It bubbled up in the 20s. It's bubbling up again now. And now, and when I say civil war, for you niggas listening to like starting shit, I ain't talking about fisticuffs and guns and shit. I'm talking about going back a true debate in ideology, and the ideologies are up and they're being tested right now. They're going at one another, and people are watching. And so far, the ideology, the people who've been Black first for well over the last decade, we've been very consistent. With our messaging. We've seen all these other people who talking about vote for Kamala, vote for Warnock. We see them get flipping. So, by the looks of things, our ideology is what's looks like it's starting to win out, even though we're still the majority. But it's trending on our ideology being the dominant ideology within Black America, hopefully sometime within the next 10 years. And that's why these spaces are so important, because you have people out there who see what's going wrong ain't right, but they don't quite have the messaging to say what they quite want. Through these kind of conversations, we can all use our intelligent minds to come together and draw our own conclusions as to which way to go as Black America. And that's why we have these spaces. So whoever's next, mods, get them up in here.
That'll be is it Slim?
Yeah, I had a question going back to HBCUs, like what you see with Jackson State and Mississippi, the dependence that they have financially on the state, right? That was a big issue Deion Sanders was having, is he didn't just have to play the coach. He had to make sure the water was on. He was the maintenance man. He had to make sure the power was on, because a lot of HBCUs are so dependent on the state. So how do we cut those ties as Black Americans from the state to then, destroy the system, kind of like what he was saying before?
What we have to do, for those who are concerned about it, they have to donate, because all colleges need money, all schools need money, all high schools. We need to be in the habit of donating to our schools. We need to be in the habit of donating to these homeschooling networks, all of these schools, because let me tell you something. I have a bunch of buildings here in LA that I run. And the person that I got in business with when I was in my 20s, a Jewish man. And I actually have one of my business mentors, actually a Jewish white man. Yes, as militant as I am, but look, though they got the game, so shit, I ain't that goddamn militant. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna learn. So I was under him for a good 10 years before he died. We talked about everything as far as business and as far as race. You know what I mean? We talk about that stuff all the time. And I would tell him about, a lot of the things going on with Black America, and I would get him to donate dollars, because I used to coach basketball at the same time when he was alive. So I always had him donate money to my basketball team, and also some of these Black homeschooling networks that I was familiar with. And he had no issues donating once he understood how the concerns, once he heard someone voice the concerns in a concise manner. So anyway, as a loud ass truck goes by, anyway, he told me something. He said, "You know what? You see all these Jews walking up and down Wilshire through Hancock Park." He said, "Most of us don't have a lot of money." He said, "It's like anything else. A few of us have a fuck ton of money. A cool amount of us have a cool amount of money. But the majority of Jews don't really have a lot of money. They're living paycheck to paycheck like anyone else." He said, it's very common for 2 or 3 Jewish families to be living they'll be living in Hancock Park in a big ass 6-7 bedroom house, but that'll be a house owned by one of their cousins. You know what I mean? And they're all splitting the rent to pay him back, because one thing about them Jews, they don't fuck around when it comes to money, even with their own family. You better pay this rent. You know what I mean? But they have all kinds of systems to take care. They said, because we realize we're not going to get taken care of on the outside. He's like, most of us really don't have the money that people make it seem like. It's just a few of us, but the few that do have the money, we take care of each other. And wherever people are on the rung, whether they're the owner of the company or the secretary, a percentage of their money goes back in to what their causes are. And he always emphasized to me. He said, if I can ever say anything to Black people, he's very respectful. You know what I mean? I can't tell y'all what to do. He's like, because at the end of the day, he understood we're still going through our Holocaust. It's not over. So he always understood that, and he always spoke to me from that level of respect. But he always said, when we get to the point to where, as we go through our Holocaust, if those who have can really dedicate towards putting back into the institutions of education. Only way you gonna educate your people is if you paying for it. I don't care. And we used to understand that as Black people before this whole integration thing. That's not a new. He didn't tell me anything that black people didn't understand 200 years ago. It's just in the last couple generations, a lot of this has been lost. Because if you read the history of the Negro Church by Carter G. Woodson, you see how the community did when the church was taking collection plates. That's because the church turned around. The church is where you learn how to woods crafting, metal shopping. A lot of that stuff was taught in the church. The church is what built you a home. First CME got really big when people moved to towns. They would build a home for the new resident in town, and the only thing you had to pay was pay it forward. When the next person moved in town, you helped build that person's house. We used to understand that, and it's something that we've lost in the last 60 years, really big time. Going back, so to answer your question with that long ass response I just gave, how do we get the state out of the way? Is if we put our goddamn money up to it from pre-K through college. And if all of us, if that's a concern of yours, can put some money on the books for the university, especially if you graduated from one, if that's a concern of yours, but that's one ideology. But those seem to be the people who are the most vocal, the people saying, F Deion Sanders, we need to say the HBCUs, then the loudest ones in the room. So my challenge to those loud people in the room is, okay, show us what you wallet. If you're not going to show us what you wallet, man, let's just keep doing what we're doing and let this shit crash and burn and rebuild some new shit. So I'm in the middle. I'm on the West Coast, so I don't give a shit either way it goes for me. But I would like to, at least put these arguments out there. But Eve, I see you got your hand up.
Much respect. Apparently, I'm very passionate about this topic. I didn't even know, but my biggest qualm with Umar, and I wasn't even really gonna go here, but my biggest qualm with Umar is it doesn't take $1 million. I know this because our children go to a black school. I teach at a black school, and we're getting the damn job done. It's amazing watching these little minds at work when they're unencumbered and not being stifled by the system. It is amazing. I go to work every day happy to be there. And I used to work for public school, and not that I didn't appreciate or enjoy what I was doing, but the feeling is not the same. It's not the same. So to the Jewish people, yeah, they're right about, supporting their own, but you got to do it if you're going to do it. And then if you're not going to do it, shut the hell up. Like you said, TBA says it all the time. You look at a man's bank account and you'll see what he will die for. And a lot of those people who are talking shit don't give a shit about what they're talking about. They're just talking because people are listening, I guess. So from there, I mean, like I already told you, I'm not giving back to my HBCU. I didn't find value there. What I do find value in is making sure that we're teaching our own and finding an avenue and a place for them to do that, and making sure that those places get support. And from there, we at war. We don't have any time to waste.
It's these niggas that got lifetime subscriptions to Pornhub running their mouth all the goddamn time talking about, yeah, what's up with the money? Man, if you wasn't buying so much goddamn porn and stupid ass shit, well, you can put that money into HBCUs, but they not. That's why I use that term porn for a reason, because these people are imaginative circle jerkers. They always got something to say, but they ain't doing nothing. Everything's a concept to them. Everything's in their mind. Everything's a fantasy. It's a concept. If we did this, if we did that. Never want to deal with what is and what can be done in the here and now on whatever level you can do it. These are people who are mental masturbators, and these are people that they've been too loud for too long, and a lot of us have been too quiet and just letting them talk. Let us be the generation that sometimes we black folks, right? We can kick it, right? What happened when that one loud talking dude come around when everybody vibing out and chilling? It's gonna be at least one or two niggas that's gonna be like, man, shut your ass up. We gotta start saying, man, shut your ass up again. We stop saying that shit. Sometimes I want everybody in here, at the count of three, wherever you are, if you're not at work, it's somewhere you can, because I want everybody to count 1, 2, 3. And say it with me. 1, 2, 3.
Shut your ass
Shut
up.
your ass up. We gotta get back to the shut your ass up, because these people ain't doing shit. So, what I mean? That's how we police ourselves. So, who else was next? Slim, was it again? Were you finished, Slim? Were you finished? Go ahead, Slim. If you're not finished, go ahead. If you're not finished, go ahead, Slim. You had your mic on. Now you just put it on mute.
Unmute yourself, Slim. Just press. Okay, there
Yeah,
you
yeah.
go.
No, yeah. I saw. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, man.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, we got to get back to that, man. We got to get back to being the people we got to get back to the intelligent and controlling the conversation. You know what I mean? We got to get back to that. We got to stop being ashamed of it because the last, ever since King X and that whole class died off, the Panthers, ever since 1969, it's been the people that are willing to do the least talking the most. And like with James Brown even put that in song. He said, "You just talking loud and saying nothing." James Brown talked about that. These niggas is talking loud and ain't saying nothing. And Curtis Mayfield also talked about these kind of individuals. He called them educated fools from uneducated schools. On the song "If There's a Hell Below, We All Gonna Go." And that's what we listening to. We listen to a whole bunch of educated fools that think that education means something because they got educated from an uneducated school. A school that told them a slice of the truth, just enough to make them think that they got something, while still being able to control their mind from freeing themselves, from liberating themselves and liberating their people. Because all these people that graduated from HBCUs over the last 40 years, what institutions have they built to help us all? I ain't talking about these wine and cheese parties that they be going to. I ain't talking about the Boulay Cigar Lounge and the place where Roland Martin gets his escrow treated. I ain't talking about these little exclusive clubs. I'm talking about what have they built. Just let the evidence speak for itself. For the greater good of Black society on any level, pre-K through retirement. What have they built? And so that's something we got to ask. Go ahead, Ruben. I see you up in here, bro.
Hey, what up, B?
Man, I'm chilling, man.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about JB Smooth. That nigga won last night.
JB Smooth?
Yeah, he won. He beat Herschel Walker last night.
Oh, that one. He do, yeah. He do like
that nigga went from Curb Your Enthusiasm to State Senate, man. I'm so proud of him, man. As a fellow comedian, that's great news. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud. But now, what's funny though is I'm cracking up because like online, everybody is all like, especially I call them Democoons. They all like, oh, I can't believe the Republicans would stand behind Herschel Walker, as if these niggas every election season don't say vote blue no matter who. They do the same exact thing as the Republicans, but they act like somehow they're different from what the other side does. It's just funny to me. It's like y'all do the same exact thing. Like you stand behind your party because that's who you fuck with. But for some reason they act like it's different when Republicans do it. They're evil for standing behind their candidates, no matter how incompetent they seem to be.
It's the whole church thing played out all over again. My religion is the only truth, and Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. And that Muhammad's gonna send you to hell. Ain't read one sentence in the Quran. Can't even, but they know everything about it. And matter of fact, they ain't read one sentence in the Quran, and they ain't read more than 3 sentences in the Bible. And one of those 3 sentences is Jesus wept. Nigga, so these is people that, you know what I mean? You see this, like what he was saying earlier, you see this behavior playing out over and over and over and over again through different areas.
Yeah. And I'm just interested to see, like, it's just funny seeing so many people just like excited as if like this is somehow a win for us. It's like a mush-mouth Democrat beat a mush-mouth Republican. But I mean, I don't see how that's a win for Black people. Like, we still in the same boat. So I don't see why
That
people so celebratory about it.
that whole race, in my opinion, was just a bad look on Black men. Like
Definitely.
seeing that mentally, with the mental aptitude of those 2 people racing against one another, that would be equivalent of 2 fat niggas like me in a 100-yard dash. It don't matter who won. The race was terrible. It don't do it matter who won if it took 19 seconds to run a 100-yard dash?
Man, I was saying that. Look, the fact that it was close shows that
Man.
is.
That's what I said. Warnock got to be a terrible candidate because basically what that showed is all the Republicans have to do is have a competent candidate that can actually speak coherent sentences, and they will win the next Senate race. Because it shouldn't have been that close. Like Herschel was just an idiot. I mean, and he was dangerously stupid. And I don't even like Democrats, but I am glad they won because that man was dangerously stupid. Like somebody like that don't need a seat nowhere in office, nigga. They don't even need a cubicle, my nigga. Like
Nah,
bad.
Ruben. He said y'all should be baptizing them babies, not aborting them. And I'm sorry. I am sorry. That
No.
he can. I wouldn't have voted for him, but I'm not saying that he.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. When that nigga Herschel said we the greatest country in the United States, I'm like, this nigga can't win.
Nah, it was when he pulled out the badge.
Oh, the sheriff badge. Oh, the badge. Oh, bro. The badge. I was like, nigga, come on. What are you doing?
He had it out in practice. She said, I told you not to bring out no props.
He knew better, too. He knew better. And did it anyway. But that was it. I just want to talk about that real quick. Just how the Democrats is just all just excited and shit. And, you know, they still do that whole deflection thing where, you know, you bring up the anti-black racism of the Democrats and they act like that's okay because Republicans, as if, I don't know why they think like it's okay to be anti-black if you're a Democrat. As long as you ain't Republican being anti-black. That shit gets on my nerves.
That's how they get down. But that's what I'm saying. We Twitter spaces like this and these discussions that we've been having lately are bringing things like that to the forefront because that nonsense can only exist with our silence. And that's what we've been doing. We've been saying, a lot of us, you know, I admit, I used to vote Democrat all the goddamn time. You know what I mean? I just figured like, well, I remember thinking, we can't get Bush in. And now I think we really can't get him reelected. 9/11, there's no way Bush is going to get reelected after we saw that movie with Michael Moore about 9/11 and how Bush just sat there and like, there's no way we gonna get our ass kicked if Bush gets in. And he got in, and you know things was kind of bad. But as a nigga, it was bad when he came in. It was bad when he left. It didn't get you know. And then Obama's like, we gotta get Obama in. We gotta get him in. We can't. And I personally, I was against John McCain because he couldn't lift his arms above his shoulders. I'm not gonna look at nobody when they put their hands up. They look like they're bringing the house down. I ain't you know, let they rapping like an MC. But no, this is how high his hands go. They don't go no higher. So you know, and he looked like the Reed from Nothing But Trouble. And so I couldn't do that. But it was like I remember really thinking Obama, and then you know, and then I remember being really scared of not Mitch McConnell, the other white boy, and Mitt Romney.
Oh yeah, Mitt Romney.
You know
yeah,
I mean? Mitt Romney scared the shit out of me. And then I realized after that, I was like, man, I was scared of shit of Mitt Romney. But at the end of Obama's term, gays got the right to marriage, and white folks got an open license to kill black niggas. Like so, when I so a lot of us had to go through that progression, and people woke up kind of in tandem, in line. You know, you kind of start to see people come online 2012, 2016, more people were online, 2020 more. And even now, you're starting to see people wake up at whatever their time is. I think we're at that critical mass now where if we continue to have these conversations, those people who want to do better but don't know any better, you know, because I was talking, Ruby, you know who she is, but the person who books me over at Fox Soul, when I do that show, I talked to her recently. And she was just saying something like she was just like really learning and understanding. Like she's like, I think what's going on right now is there's something out there to make the black man look a certain way. And I know her heart. I remember, but she also is the same person who back in 2016, you might find old footage of me with the National Action Network at the J Spot. Remember I used to do that shit at the J Spot?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because she was doing that too. Yeah, she was the host.
Yeah, she was the host, and she asked me to come down because the National Action Network niggas like me, the preacher niggas like me, and so, and plus it was crazy, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story. I'm gonna get to y'all. It was crazy that they liked me because the first time I ever bombed on stage when I was doing comedy was there. It was 2014, and I had a joke. No, it was 2012, and I had a joke where I was talking about politics, and I said. And what happened was I said, fuck Obama. But I forgot the rest of the joke. See, that joke, I can get out that joke because I had some funny shit behind it. But my mind went blank when I said that. And all these chicken fried niggas is in the audience looking at me like, what? I got this, and this is 2012. You know, niggas still like Obama, but 2012, that's an
Oh, that's
Obama
he was fresh out the second term too. You couldn't say nothing about that.
Nigga, you couldn't say shit about Obama back then. So then I went to my proven punchline that works every percent of the time, every time, except for this time. I have a joke where I say I'm the Al Sharpton of fat niggas. It looked like I represent them. I really don't. And I said that usually I should get big laughs.
Damn.
That shit was silent, and niggas was like kind of laughing but holding their laughs in. And then 2-3 people like kind of busted out laughing real loud, but they got quiet real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the fuck? I found out that was the National Action Network's Christmas party. It was Al Sharpton second in command, and all them bootleg chicken fried niggas was the audience. I didn't know that.
That's hilarious. You was in hot water, then you was in the belly of the beast, bro. That shit is hilarious.
You know
it would have been even funnier had you known, though. If you did it knowing that would have been even more gangster.
Oh, if I knew, I would have pulled it off. I would have had a way to say it. I still would have done a joke. I just would have had a different setup to it, you know, and because a different setup, you can get any joke off against any audience.
Oh
yeah. If you set it up right.
Set it up right and you deliver it correctly. Yeah.
But I didn't set it up like that. And then but them chicken fried niggas actually ended up taking a liking to me. They brought me into the national. It wasn't the National Action Network, but they had like a little community mixer every Tuesday, and that's when we would talk politics. And they would always end everything in vote. And every time they would say that, I would cringe, even though I was still voting back then. Like, you know what I mean? I would still cringe every time I said it. But I said that to say the person who booked me in the J-Spot was the person that booked me back then. She's always had a heart for black people. This is what I'm trying to say, and I'm going to get to the speaker. She's always had an honest, genuine heart for black people. But she went to an HBCU too, and she thought because of our indoctrination, because of how we were socialized in this country, she really, really, really thought being a Democrat and following along, in her heart, she thought that. So sometimes we got to remember some of these people, not all of them, because a lot of these chicken fried niggas really ain't shit. But there are those out there who, in their heart, they really do care about black people, and they really think that's the path. And it's 2022, and she's just now realizing after that episode of Fox Soul that I did, when they brought those trannies on to speak for black women, she's just now really starting to ask these questions. And she's a very intelligent person. You know what I mean? So we got to know that these people exist, and that kind of socialization is out there.
Definitely. I'll go ahead and drop down, though. But yeah, nice talking to you, bro. Always.
Yes, sir. Eve, you know who's next.
Yeah, it's Power Tools is next. But just real quick, if you could just look at the Jumbotron again. James Jameson. Who do you think that he's going to be looking out for at Norfolk State? If you just take a gander, just a real quick peek at the Jumbotron. James Jameson. Who is he trying to get in?
They got a porn wife? The fuck? Yeah, look at him.
But really, I mean, Norfolk State is done at this point. You got the white lady, you got this, I don't even know what he is, type of spicy white, but it's about to be a minority coalition, non-coalition.
He looks like the smart friend in a Seth Rogen film. Like in one of them Seth Rogen movies, he looks like the friend that has everything in order, and then gets cheated on by his wife and crashes and burns. That's how he looks. He looks like that guy. He looks like his name is Dylan. And how can a white dude that looks like his name is Dylan do anything for a black university? I don't get it. Yeah. Who's next? Power Tools. Go ahead.
That's Power Tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. So I just want to start off say regarding the Georgia vote. We can be equally comfortable or equally uncomfortable as far as that goes. Now, I did have a question for you about kind of like music royalty. And I know when considering Aretha Franklin and Michael Jackson, they technically named music heirs, like Chris Brown, Michael Jackson, and Jennifer Hudson with Aretha. But did Prince ever name an heir, and could that be D'Angelo? That's all I had. Hopefully didn't deviate too much.
No, it's still good because we kind of jumping around topics here on Black America. It's good. We do need to switch on some other stuff. But I don't. Ain't no heirs to none of them. Everybody's their own. They're their own person. You know what I mean? Like Chris Brown is the next in the lineage of dancers, but we forget MC Hammer came after Michael Jackson as far as great dancers go. You can't skip over him. If anything, MC Hammer was the heir to Michael Jackson, and Chris Brown is the heir to that. If you're gonna say anything like that, but I don't believe in heirs. Jennifer Hudson definitely not Aretha's heir. Shaka Khan is, if there is one. But they all have their own unique greatness. One thing we got to get back to as Black people, and I'm glad you brought this up, so I can make this point. We got to get out that pigeonhole of always comparing and ranking and saying this person is that, they're the next this, they're the next that. We have to give everyone the consideration to be their own level of greatness. They all did it in their own way. Yes, Michael Jackson followed along in the steps of James Brown, but James Brown literally created a genre of music, funk. That was the bed that Michael Jackson laid on, because Michael Jackson's music is funk. If you think I'm bullshitting, go back and listen to Louis Johnson's bass line on Billie Jean. That's Louis Johnson, Louis Thunder Thumbs Johnson from the Brothers Johnson. That's one of the funkiest motherfuckers alive. You got, the Greg Filling gang. You got James. Man, you look at the George Duke and all the musicians that played. Those are some funky ass niggas, and that's a form of music that was created by James Brown. But but one thing that generation understood was we're not gonna sit back all day and rank this one versus that one versus this one. James Brown did this, Michael Jackson did that. You know what I mean? Chris Brown got his own little thing going on that literally ain't close to nothing Michael Jackson did. Outside of the ability, they don't even dance alike. The only thing that Chris Brown and Michael Jackson share is the ability to dance great. That's literally it. Chris Brown has his own style of dancing that moved on from what Michael Jackson did. Not greater, Michael Jackson's not worse. He just evolved it the same way Michael Jackson evolved what James Brown was doing. The same way MC Hammer evolved what the Nicholas brothers were doing. You know what I mean? It's an evolution of a particular style of thing, but musically and vocally, they're not close to the same. Michael Jackson uses his own voice, not auto-tune. You dig? You know what I mean? Musically, the music bed that Michael Jackson sang on requires a lot more skill to do than singing over a programmed beat that's quantized. You know what I mean? It's like almost they sing in two completely different genres of music. You know what I mean? Michael Jackson, The Way You Make Me Feel was a blues. That's 12-bar blues. You know what I mean? You go back and listen to Remember the Time. That's funk. You go back and listen to Beat It. That's metal. You know what I mean? They're just different to really too different to really be arguing about who's greater, who's not, and comparing. We got to know that as Black folks, we shit out greatness. You know what I mean? Greatness is, so because we shit out greatness, we tend not to appreciate it. Not understanding that our greats are so great at what they do, when another group of people has someone that's as good as our mediocre, they all of a sudden become the best to ever do it. I was watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the other day, and I just had to turn that shit off. Like, how the fuck did Jimmy Iovine get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? All Jimmy Iovine did his whole career was say, hey, this musician work on that song. He didn't write a song. He didn't write a note. He didn't write a bar. He didn't play an instrument. He didn't execute none of this shit. He just somebody who had financial backing from them people, and then he had the resources to say, hey, Sting, you played this song written by that person and hire that. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but then you look at somebody like a Paul Reiser, somebody like a James Carmichael. When you look at the music arrangements, Hal Davis, the music arrangements that they wrote, those violin parts, those orchestrations, those notes that the singer sang, the bass line, the drums, was written by somebody with a pencil and a sheet of fucking paper. And they went and wrote whole compositions to write beautiful music to back the song. And these people ain't nowhere to be found in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as producers. But you got a white boy that said, you kick it with him, and now all of a sudden he's the greatest to ever do it. How is Eminem going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the same year as Lionel Richie? Lionel Richie should have been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the year Eminem released his first album. It's like you got to be. It was something that I was talking to Taj Jackson a couple weeks ago. He was talking about, and I'm gonna interview Taj Jackson. But we had a conversation about his uncle Michael Jackson, And he said Michael would always tell him, it's, when you black, you got to be 3 times as good to get half the recognition. Michael understood that. And we saw it play out this past weekend when I saw the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You got these white people. For a white musician to make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all they need is a solid 4 or 5 year run on top. That's all they need. If they get 4 or 5 years in a row where they went number 1 3 times and they sold 10 million albums, they're going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But if you're black, and are the Isley Brothers in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Can somebody check that for me? Because they ain't got a Grammy. So we gotta stop that shit, man. And because that's that European shit, ranking this person above that person. That's European shit. We gotta know that all our shit is great. And the evidence is when other groups get somebody that can do 1/10 of what we do and do it okay for about 3 or 4 years, they become the greatest. That lets you know how great we are, because we got great people that we done forgot about. And I done went on a long ass tangent. Moderators, who's next?
Power Tools put his hand back up, and then we've got some new speakers, OG and Nightmare.
All right, cool. Go ahead, Power Tools. Let me get to the next one.
All right, just to close it out, I just wanted to make sure I had that clear. So what I was approaching that from the view of family, with respect to all the folks that I mentioned, just with them kind of how they presented those people that I mentioned, paired up along with them, with their nod, and being able to respect their nod, looking at that kind of all I could best say was like kind of a handoff, because those people, right as they did it, they weren't with us much longer after those times. And I think while Prince never got a chance to really, I don't know who did he give a nod like that to, not trying to put him against them, but just who did he show love to like that?
No one really gave a nod, though, because Michael Jackson didn't really give a nod. Michael Jackson would acknowledge current artists' greatness, you know what I mean, because he wasn't a hater. But he didn't give Chris Brown no nod. And Aretha just wanted Jennifer Hudson to play her in the movie. And,
Okay.
she liked it, but it wasn't like giving a nod. It was just, that's just shit these publications come up with to get us talking. And whoever you think is the follower of the Prince is that's who it is. You know what I mean? Because everybody's gonna have differing opinions. Does Prince sound a hell of a lot like? Does D'Angelo sound a hell of a lot like Prince? Yeah, you do. But
I'll put it in there for them.
Yeah, but Prince got a lot of disciples out there. You know what I mean? Because he did so many different things. You got people who picked up different aspects of Prince, and they express it. But Prince, he's picked up most of what he got from Jimmy, and Jimmy picked up most of what he got from Muddy, and Muddy picked up most of what he got from Petey Wheatstraw. It's a continuum when it comes to our greatness. We just that goddamn dope. But I think who was next? OG Black or not?
What's up, Dwan B? You know me. You know who I am. We've met. I still want to jam with you, brother. I had something to say about this too, because cool. Shout out to Michael Jackson for even giving Little Richard his royalties, because the record industry has not been the best when it comes to us. Look at what happened to Screaming Jay Hawkins. I mean, that brother got basically threatened out of his royalties, and didn't really reap the benefits of what his song "I Put a Spell on You." I mean, there's so many different cases. Frankie Lyman, even Jimi Hendrix. What happened to him? If anybody knows how he died, actually, like those that know. But
Yeah.
as far as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame goes, dude, we need to just get our own, man. Like I am a rocker. I'm in all kinds of music. But like that's one thing that I have a thing called Black History of Rock and Roll and all that stuff. So I talk about stuff like this. I mean, it's a shame that people don't know about Dolphins of LA. The guy that actually like was the first to do in stores and like radio broadcasts from a record store, the only 24-hour record store in Los Angeles. And this guy put a lot of people on. We need to get back to stuff like that, man, when it comes to our own community and own our own creative like genres. A lot of times we do our stuff, then we move on to the next, and then other people pick it up, and then we deem it as other people's creations. We have to stop doing that, and I understand why it's a long story with that, but especially being like familiar, being into rock and hip hop and working with different people as a musician in both genres, for me, it's all of our music, bro. Like seriously, that's our stuff. I admire Michael. I admire Prince. I admire all the ones that came before us. George Clinton, Jimi Hendrix, freaking, Nona Hendrix, and so many others that I could name. Polystyrene, Bad Brains, all of them. And it's cool to see that Bad Brains actually they somehow, I think they got the masters to like a lot of their releases, and they're just doing their stuff on their own. So if you guys are in the hardcore punk, check those guys out and support them. But there still needs to be bands like Pure Hell, Death, and so many others that are from us that need to be lauded by us more than we are. Even if you're not into that music. I land my plane. Sorry, I said a whole lot, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was dope. I'm glad you brought in that perspective, because I have a surface level perspective, knowledge of what's on the rock side of it, because I've never been all the way into it, but I have studied it just so I know what I'm talking about when I have these kind of discussions. But I have more of a cerebral knowledge of it than a feeling of the music. But I will say this: I take metal and grunge, and I take that in limited doses. But I will say this: that's an energy of music that's meant, because we all have a certain level of frustration, and
Yep.
that music can rid your ass. It will clear your ass up. You
Yep.
got some shit going on. It's just that when we see them do it, they go around in these goddamn mosh pits, all knocking each other upside the head and shit. We laugh. You don't necessarily gotta do all that, but I know. I tell you what it is. I'm gonna admit to y'all, I'm a huge Motley Crue fan. All right.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I love Iron Maiden also.
I love Iron Maiden.
I fucks with Iron Maiden, and I fucks with Motley Crue. But when I hear "Shout at the Devil," shout, nigga, I'm ready to punch my windows out and rip my rearview mirror off. But sometimes the music calls for that. So that's why I'm glad you say what you had to say, because we got to know that. Like, and I want to say this real quick to everybody. And I said it before in the Twitter space. The same musicians recording metal, recording funk, recording jazz, these be the same people.
Yep.
When we go back to the original, to the 60s and the 70s,
oh yeah,
these are literally the same musicians. It's just that
they
all
are
these different forms. In America, we're taught that these forms are divergent. That's why on my music family tree, I made it one tree. Because
I love that tree, by the way, and I just shared your tree, bro, like to all my cadres. Me, you, and all my cadres, Black History Rock cadres need to talk, because I shared all the tree with them. I got cats like my homegirl Samantha Hollins, who does the cultural Black griot. Like, she does a lot of things where she'll go to places like Jimmy's Grave. She'll go to places like those brothers from We Are in Things. Yeah, that's the homie, man.
Yeah,
like,
I've heard of her. Yeah. She does good
she's
work.
a good. All of what you're saying is like totally valid. I love that tree, man. It's the best thing ever.
Inbox me, man. Let's link up about that, all right? Inbox me.
Yeah, I actually did, but I don't think you knew who I was.
Oh yeah, you do yourself familiar now. Yeah, inbox me again, because some of this shit be going to the goddamn. It's this whole other drive that shit be going to that I don't even see, and I'll be forgetting to check. But go ahead and do that. But I want to tie a buzz on that question, on that comment, then I'm gonna get to Dr. Short. We gotta see it. We gotta see that as Black folks, that when I made it as a tree on purpose, because just because the left branch is on the opposite side of the tree as the right branch, it's still the same goddamn tree. And when it comes to our different genres of music, our different forms of music, we have to know that they're just different forms of expression that hit different parts of our body. When we're dealing with funk, we're dealing with straight up root chakra, bass level, visceral music. When we're dealing with classical, because that's our shit too. When we're dealing with that, when we're dealing with those strings, we're dealing with the mind. We're dealing with what's going on in your head. When you're dealing with soul music, you're dealing with what's going on in your heart. You dig what I'm saying? When you're dealing with metal, because metal and rock and hip hop are two sides of the same coin. Both kind of had it, like, especially dealing with punk and a lot of that stuff. A lot of that stuff with hip hop, a lot of that stuff was going down in the same club, because they were both alternative forms of music. And so that's where you're dealing with your rage. We all have rage on some level. So all of these things are good and decent, and the blues is how The blues is how we deal with our solar plexus, what's going on in our guts. The blues gets all up into your guts. You know, when we're talking about B.B. King, we got, Muddy Waters, the gypsy woman told me you your mama's bad luck child and shit like that. And so they're just different forms, but guess what? What you're dealing with, the heart, the soul, the mind, the spirit, the body, is all the same fucking person. So when it comes to all these different musics, don't allow them just to pigeonhole us into hip hop, because that would be the equivalent of pigeonholing us to just focusing on what's going on with our rage, not acknowledging our joy, not acknowledging our mind, our spirit, our stomach, our heart, our lower chakras, our all that shit is part of us. So we gotta accept it and we gotta embrace it. But I see that Princess, you have your hands up. I know you're gonna go. I know you're pretty quick, Princess. I'm gonna get you. Then I'm gonna get right to Dr. Short.
Okay. Did you say for me to go first?
Yeah. I know you'll be pretty quick. So I'm gonna get you. I know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay, great. Because I have to go, but there's just a couple of things I want to say. I really am very grateful and happy to see more of the brothers on Twitter taking leadership and spreading knowledge. I love listening to my brothers. I want to say that I appreciate this time. I don't think I ever have seen a time like this in my life where the brothers is very outspoken on a platform that we use on a daily basis. So I just want to say that right off the bat. I love that, and I look forward to hearing more and more from our brothers for sure. And I also want to leave this with everyone. Please make sure you're writing these elected officials. There is a simple app that you can use, and you can text to resist. It's called Resist Bot. You can text resist to 5409. Dwan, I'll send you a picture or whatever. I don't know how to use a Jumbotron or anything like that. But please make sure you're writing these elected officials and telling them the things that we talk about in our groups. They need to know, because we're going to show up to their offices pretty soon here. You know, when we organize ourselves and get together, we are going to show up at their offices at Well and talk to them, so they can't act like they don't know what we're talking about. Make sure you're writing them, and you can text them. Like I said, text resist at 5409. And you can start writing your letters, and it goes to every elected official up to the president, whoever you want to speak to. Okay. And some of them will respond and some of them won't, but just keep writing them so that they know. And I'll be organizing some trips to DC to go visit some of these elected officials who are going to be making decisions on our reparations. I hope that I hope that it's taken out of their hands actually, and that we sue them in international court, because I really don't feel like dealing with them. And I'll land my plane there. I love you all. I may have to leave in a minute, but I love this room, Dwan. I appreciate you, and Nikki. I love you, sis. And it was nice to meet Just Eve on here now. So take care and God bless.
God bless. Thank you. Dr. Short. And please, Princess, send me that information and I'll follow up with that. Dr. Short, welcome to the room. What's on your mind, brother?
Oh, well, man, I just want to say wazi to Sister Nikki and to Sister Eve and to Sister Princess. And wow. And brother, we're supposed to do a rockabilly show. That brother talking about rock and roll music. I want to say hi to my cousin who's not on the thing, because Elvis Presley learned how to sing on my cousin's farm in Mississippi. So everything is ours. Everything. Everything is ours. Are y'all hearing me? Because,
yes,
they play games.
I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I just wanted to, I don't want to go or say much, because I know you can handle anything, Dwan, except I do want to say to you, Dwan, I'm inviting you. you're needed in LA on the 17th if you can come up, because, and I'll talk to you more offline. I am on my way to California, and we got to do this. And I guess, of course, I'll be talking to young people, but we got to figure out something we can do while I'm on the West Coast. Even if I have to ride down with you for a day and just do something whack and come back and we fly out to Bay Area, but we got to do something. But this Sister Princess is 199.9% on point. She's speaking from Coon Buster, Principles of Philosophy. And of course, I live in D.C. I'm exactly 2.1 miles from the U.S. Capitol. If I had to, take my crippled ass down there, but we need to go in and visit those coons because they're no damn good, every single one. And that Mr. Potato Head, sissy potato head looking dude, Warnock, he's going to do more damage to us than retarded white girl stalker, which rhymes with Herschel Walker. And it's just sad. It's sad. We're being suicided by people that we look up to, and a lot of them are boomers. And I also wonder if you're in Virginia. There's a special election coming up because the dude that was 61, that was a Democrat, died probably from the shot. We're going to see a lot of these people start dropping dead like Irene Cara, and that what the feeling was the vax that she took later. So we need to be prepared to take leadership, because a lot of people that were stupid, that took the genocide jab and they let the people scare them, they're not going to be here. We have only begun to see people go suddenly. And no matter who dies, no matter how many, notice that nobody in leadership, medical, religious, or otherwise, Black, is saying anything. I mean, you get Rizza Islam, you get my friend Dr. Stella Emanuel, you got Jenkins out of Philly. They're just a handful of people asking questions when it's life and death. If you won't speak when it's of life and death importance, you won't speak on anything. And that's where we are. And I know folk are talking about Deion Sanders. I just want to say this. HBCUs are a mixed blessing. And we need to go from taking a mixed blessing to just having it be outright one thing or the other. Part of our oppression is having to always be in the in between, in the middle, not enough of one thing or the other. Are you hearing me? HBCUs at this point are places that the Masons, the Boule, the Divine Swine, and all the others indoctrinate and confuse and make us weak. I say that as an HBU brat, as a twice fired HBCU professor, as a student leader, as an illegally removed trustee board member of Howard University. I have lots of different hats that I can wear and tell you about bullshit at Howard and other places that I have been. And so Deion Sanders, I don't know what he's about, but I'll tell y'all, real talk, if you want to ruin your career and you're a bright academic, let some of these dumb fuck Greek people get you on the payroll or under their thumb at one of these schools. You don't get to do anything. You don't get to grow. The schools are full of people who are not prepared. I'm not saying that there isn't a benefit to the HBCUs. I'm not saying that. But because of our corrupt, traitorous leadership, and if we were people, a real people that were serious, I hate to say this to y'all listeners, and I am not advocating violence against anyone, but in other communities where people are serious about survival and you do things against the survival of the group, people take your life and they'll even go after your family. We as a people don't hold anybody accountable. We want to be friends to everybody except for if you have a different opinion. Like if you're a Baptist, I'm a Methodist or a Catholic or something. But in terms of real substantive things about our survival, we're pussies. And we need people like this sister who just spoke and folk like Eve, we need to not only go after leadership that's political. Some of you guys are, you're like me, you believe that Noah was on a boat with animal shit for 40 days and 40 nights. We need to go after no good religious leadership, business leadership. If you're a traitor, if you've betrayed Black people, if you're a liar, scammer, whatever, that we're going to get you. We got to send literally a seismic tremor of fear to remind these people that the righteous masses of us are tired of the shit. Only when we do this will it change. The civil rights movement came as a rebellion against the existing Black elite, which started 99 years ago in 1924. And every subsequent rebellion or advancement of Black people comes because a certain critical mass get tired of white anti-Black racism, and they get tired of collaborator traitor coons. We have to have a two-front war to clean up our own ranks and to tell other people, pardon my language, stop fucking with us. We're not going to take it anymore. This is what has to happen until we decide to have an asymmetrical two-front war from within and from without, since we're surrounded on all sides. If we don't do that, we're doomed. Let me stop here, Dwan.
No, you I keep going because literally you came in right. You weren't in here when we were covered. You covered everything that we started this off the first 45 minutes. You just basically put a button on what we were talking about up until about 10 minutes before you got here. So yeah, Eve, Nikki, you have something to say?
Appreciate Dr. Short's words. Definitely. He is definitely who we can listen to because of all the different roles he's had in an HBCU and the fact that he was forcibly removed for his thoughts and righteous behavior. I think that goes to show why some of these positions are appointed versus elected, or you got to apply, or, I don't know what the process would be other than not being an appointment. The people would have to pick the people who are going to run the school. And if they're saying that they can just remove people who are doing what they're supposed to do, then I don't know if this is something that needs to be saved or something we need to Phoenix, like you said. I'm not scared of the Phoenix because I'm a foundational person, and I know that we've created out of nothing and we can do it again if we want to. So
I'm glad you brought that up because
Sister Eve, can I tell you something?
Dr. Short, real quick, Dr. Short, because Eve just hit on something that kind of just gave me I had a brain fart on earlier and I want to bring up. She was talking about the HBCUs and letting it burn down and come up. This is the reason why I said that and I didn't explain myself earlier. It's because we have to look at the landscape of what's going on right now. What's going on right now? What are the jobs that are paying the most money? Right now, most of it doesn't require a college degree. 3 years ago, Google and Microsoft and the government came out and said they're no longer requiring college degrees. You can now get these specialty certificates when it comes to tech. I have no doubts that if Booker T. Washington were alive today, the tech field would be probably where he shifted his argument to from the soil. The soil today is the tech and what's going on over there, and there are wide open opportunities for that. And there are opportunities. I have one lady I know. Her 18-year-old son graduated high school with a job at $85 an hour because he knew he was building mods in Grand Theft Auto, and they liked the way he built his mods. So when he graduated high school, $85 an hour. So there's a whole new system that's being birthed right now that's circumventing the college system. Now, if you want to be a doctor or something like that requires college, by all means, please do go ahead and go through college. But there's a lot in this economy, in the economy moving forward, that can make you a whole lot of money without that college degree. So we got to look at all things on the table and not make the same mistakes that was made towards us and we can't just we got to make sure that we not repeating. If just saying things to repeat what the previous generation told us, because if the previous generation was right, we wouldn't be in the situation that we in right now with all these goddamn college degrees running around here. Go ahead, Dr. Short.
I was going to say to her, to Eve, a lot of the HBCUs, this is one of the reasons why if someone came to me and said, Dr. Short or Randy, whatever you call me, I just want to serve our young black people and I want to teach the HBCU. And I've gone to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or whatever I went, and I want to just give back. I hate to say it, y'all. I would say to them, I want to serve and help young black people also. But I would say to them, if you're not going to that school with an ironclad deal, don't go. Because a whole bunch of the HBCUs, my friend, let me give you an example to just blow your mind. I applied to work at Payne College in Augusta, Georgia in 2009. I applied for that job and complete within 15 minutes of it having been posted. Actually, 10 minutes. Do you know that those people lost my application 7 times? 7. Do you know for me to do the interview at their school, a lot of folk will interview you over the phone, I had to make my way from basically Memphis to Augusta on my own dime. However, for a young white boy with a master's degree, they flew him round trip and put him up in a hotel from California to Augusta. Are you hearing me? The white boy with the master's who's not taught black people got the airline ticket and got the hotel.
Right.
And I had to pay my own way to get there. They wanted the young white man. They didn't. This is a so-called black school. They wanted the white boy. They did not want me. Okay, do you understand me? And it gets better. They waited until the day before, actually the day of the picking of the day of the semester opening, to send me my job offer. This is months after I applied. My job offer letter never explained how much I was to be paid. In fact, it was less than 3 paragraphs. 2 paragraphs was explaining how I could be fired.
How you could be fired? It wasn't
all the. Basically, it didn't mention whether I would have health benefits. It didn't, and all of this. It's like, wow. And by the way, there was nothing, which means if I didn't have any money, I would have to move from basically Memphis to Augusta with no idea of where to live, and no idea of what I'm going to get paid or when I'm going to get paid or anything. Are you understanding me?
Yeah, you were getting the "I'm white and I say so" treatment. You're getting very unique treatment.
That's
different than
crazy.
anyone else.
And
No, this. I can do many of these. So they ultimately they wanted the white boy, and the faculty was primarily boomer, but you can tell. And I'm just saying to you, so had I even tried to do the job, I would have probably been fired because you couldn't miss a day from work without. But in order for me to move in that short period of time, it would have been impossible for me to not have done something to justify them firing me my first day, based on how they did it. This is how they treat people. They destroy professional, serious people that want to help young black people. They destroy them. To go to those places is to basically destroy everything that you worked on in order that you can say, in the name of helping black people. Okay, and see, a lot of us are that, I'm sorry, they're that damn stupid to the mission that they would go and be treated like that. I worked for Lane College for 2 years. A lot of these schools have a 1 year contract each year, and they can fire you anytime in that year without any notice. And that's what they do at Lane. I know a man and his wife. This man had degrees from Yale and Wayne State. He got fired for having students come to his home with his wife because they're trying to reach people. And the president fired them to prove that he didn't care about where you went to school. I got fired my first day working at Lane College for suggesting travel for students to go to see Afro-Latin communities, whatever. I got fired. And I'll repeat what Dr. McClure said to me. As long as you work here, forget about Africa. So I had to beg for my job, almost effectively say, I'll be your slave, just let me work here. That's after I'd moved 900 miles. I think in terms of helping me move, I got $499 to help me move from D.C. to Jackson, Tennessee. Do you understand that white colleges they will help you move your whole house, set you up? These people do barbaric things to people. And they ruin people. I need to let you know, I lost maybe a good 2,000 of my books, my papers, all kinds of stuff. I used to have 4,000 or 5,000 films on black subjects. I lost it as a result of gambling, wanting to make a difference. When I worked at Lane, I was not allowed. I said, look, if I had dumb students that didn't want to read, could I go in and do teaching at the local prison, so that if you go and do any volunteer stuff other than what we ask, we'll fire you. And it goes on and on. Who set up the curriculum for the Department of History at Lane College? A white woman from the Daughters of the Confederacy.
Shit.
And this niggas do this. Who was my supervisor? A Brahmin Indian like Kamala that hated black people's guts. In fact, I got cited for causing damage to his car. He just didn't like me, so he decided that I ran my car into his car. Well, Brother Dwan knows I don't drive. I've never owned a car. But because he was Asian and anti-black, they put him over us, and so therefore I got cited for destroying someone's automobile. The white teachers got the good offices at Lane. They got the good classrooms. They got the good hours. White teachers didn't have to teach at 8 in the morning. But if you're black, you had an 8 o'clock class, even if the students didn't wake up. And your schedule was set up where you were there from 8 to 5. The white teachers tended to get assigned at either 9 or 10, and they're left by 3 o'clock. Okay, do you follow? If you were a black teacher, you couldn't complain, you couldn't ask questions, or you'd be fired.
Damn.
It was slavery. Why did I get fired at Bowie? The students liked me. That was too much. Who was one of my supervisors? A Caribbean dude in his 90s with a young wife who would sleep through most of his classes, paid 6 figures. And if you go through, talk to some real people about the bullshit, where the HBCUs are in trouble is that they fuck over the students and other people so badly. When people come out, they're both heavily indebted because the financial aid money that should go to the students is stolen. And the students are so embittered when they come out, they don't give any money to those schools. Do you know whites, Asians, and others get full scholarships for simply not being black? And I go, it goes on. The faculty at many of these schools is predominantly tethers, whites, and others. And they tend to get, let me tell you what happened at Lane College in 2009. The accrediting body for Southern schools is called SACS. There were white people who may have had a bachelor's degree teaching in subjects they didn't even know. They didn't even have to prove their ability. Now, I had to give all my transcripts from all the schools I went to, before they even would hire me. So I have to prove everything about me, but if they're white, they just get it. Do you understand if you work in that? That's how a lot of these places are. It's total plantation. Total plantation. I remember they had a Black History Month celebration. I had the best degree, best education of anyone on the history staff. They picked an African from Senegal whose area was French to organize Black History Month. I mean, and it goes, that is how the niggas at these schools are. And by the way, let's just go back to history. The white woman from the Daughters of the Confederacy convinced the black president of the school that black students did not need to know Black American history. They needed to know world history. And she picked a textbook that was racist. And because a white woman picked the racist textbook, that's the book we use, a book that had negative references to black people and so forth. One of the reasons I got fired was I asked for an easier, less expensive textbook. And that's insubordination. This is a kind of psychotic shit. Oh, the president of the school died from AIDS, had sex with students and staff. For you ladies, one of my favorite stories is one of the women on the higher management level of the staff of the school said something that the president didn't like in a meeting, and he told her, "Bitch, shut the fuck up before I slap you in the face with my penis."
Jeez.
At Lane College, you could not apply for grants. At Lane College, it was almost impossible for you. You couldn't go to everything that you need to develop yourself to be an up-to-speed professor. You couldn't do there. I have a friend, my office mate who's from Egypt, Dr. Shabayek, wanted to go to a conference in Singapore. He had paid the money, had everything set to travel for he'd only be out of class 2 days. The president waited until the day of the flight to tell the man he couldn't go. And so the man lost all of his money. And it was a test. Oh yes, when you work for those niggas, these Greek Divine Nine Boule niggas, they destroy. But by the way, they're nice to the white teachers. I worked in adult education. Do you know that the white teachers didn't even have to come to work to get paid, and yet they had people spy to make certain that I was there? Do you know my students told me I would be fired within 2 years, and they said, "Look, you actually give a damn about black people and you come to work, they're going to fire you."
Damn.
And they did.
That's what the student said.
Yes, the student said, we're going to always come to class. It says, well, you can skip a day. I mean, if you just, it says, no. It says, well, why not? I mean, I'm cool. It says, look, we don't get teachers like you. They won't hire people like you. And let me share something. You go to school with your consciousness, Eve. I was in a faculty meeting again in Lane College, and we're talking about motivating students to get them to perform better in school and so forth. And so I waited in the faculty meeting. I says, you know, a lot of my students begged me to do and talk more about Black American history, but I'm so busy teaching about Greeks, Romans, Chinese, everybody else, I have to fight to put Black stuff in to fit with the curriculum. And the president told me in front of everyone, shut up.
Whoa.
And he proceeded.
No, hell no, hell no.
No. He proceeded to tell everybody to look at me. And I'm wondering what's going on. I want to sit down. I was told by my boss, stand back up so they can see you. So I stand up, and he proceeds to tell the staff, haven't we seen him before? Remember what he did? And we're never going to let him do it again. Remember how he burnt down the science building? And everyone's gritting their teeth at me, and I'm like, what is going on?
Wait, did you burn down the science building?
No, Stokely Carmichael in the 60s got with some students, and they burnt the science building down in the 60s. I was 2 years old when this happened. There's no way that I burnt the science building. When I objected that I'd never set anything on fire, I was told, don't backtalk. And so I learned that there was a group of people, committee, that watched me. My nickname or my work name, I was Stokely. They go through your emails. I applied to work at Morehouse in 2008. I did some of my application on the office computer. I got a call from the vice president of the school to come, and I wasn't told why. I was told come immediately. And Miss Betty Hunter, the secretary to the vice president of the school, then Victoria Lott, handed me a letter and said, I didn't give it to you. When I walked out, I discovered that these people had my entire Morehouse package, and someone was going to send it to my boss so I would be fired for applying for another job. You have no right to leave once you start working in these places.
That's not true. You can file a Title VII complaint.
Hey, bro.
You can
Excuse me. Bye. But go away. Go away. No, when you don't have any money, sir, and you're stuck and you don't have any friends, you don't have money or time to go to court if you can't find a lawyer. Okay, so that's some bushy talk you there. I'm a broke black person. I don't have the options. They destroy people. And since he mentioned court, that's the other thing. These black colleges are in trouble because of the sexual harassment, abuse, and things that they do wrong. They lose cases if they get good attorneys, or they tend to buy off judges and people in places like D.C. So you can't sue Howard on the local level. You have to go federal because the people won't do anything no matter how bad it gets. So the elite, hold on, let me finish. I'll be done. So what you have are extremely corrupt leadership. You may have great teachers, you may have great students, everybody who's on code, but ultimately the people that are in control, they're like little African countries with very bad or little black church denominations. And this is how we function as a people. We are rotten in the head, and until we stop admiring and thinking just because someone has a place or a position or they got a couple of letters behind their name or a brand on their ass, what do you ultimately do for the advancement of your people has to be what we look at. And if there is nothing, then you should be seen as nothing. Instead of, well, honor my office if I'm not honorable. No, we don't need to honor anything.
Hey,
I land my plane.
And with that being said, that's cool. I agree with all that. But, in reference to what just happened, I kicked that motherfucker off stage because you don't come around here telling somebody their experience ain't true. If your experience is different, then your experience is different. Speak for your experience. You can't tell somebody else. And that's the kind of whole ass shit we got going on in our community these days. And this is amongst the men. A different man to come across.
You mean brother fuckers?
Hold on.
Brother fuckers.
Got these dudes that come around here and they want to run their goddamn mouth and they want to listen. Then they want to come in. No, that ain't what happened. Nigga, how the fuck you know? Look, we respect what people say. If somebody got a different experience than you, then they got a different experience than you. We can respect your experience and the other person's experience at the same time. It ain't music exclusive. We have to get to a point to where, as men, when we have these kind of conversations, we can be like, we can talk about this, we can talk about that. We can talk about your experience, we can talk about my experience. Your experience don't take away from my experience. And we need to get back, we need to get to the point to where we can have discussions. And around here, because I be listening, part of the reason why I don't even be doing Twitter space like that, because Twitter space be a place where it'd be a whole bunch of hoe ass niggas talk. And then cats just running their mouth and arguing with each other and undermining each other and saying this person did this and this person did that. Tattletale ass niggas. That shit don't ride in my room. If you want to speak here, you say what you gotta say. If your experience is different, then your experience is different. Cool. We can talk it out. But we are all that. We no, I'm not and no, you don't get a chance to explain yourself. Miles, if that person requests again, don't let them back up. Because this is an environment where once you identify yourself as a slow, stupid, and bad
What was
faith
his name?
kind of person around us, you don't get a platform around here. Now, if you respect somebody else and you disrespectfully disagree and we discuss it, we could do that all day. But all that trying to discount someone else's experience because it don't match with yours and your feelings is hurt, man, fuck you and your feelings. Go, Nikki, was that you? Go ahead.
I apologize for cutting you off, Dwan.
It's all
What
good.
was his name? What's his name so I know not to let him up?
I don't remember. Honestly, I'm over here playing Madden while I'm talking to y'all.
Okay. I'll just remember him when he comes up. I just know. Okay, I'll be careful.
Yeah, it's
And thank you, Brother Dwan, because I'm not lying. And that's why a lot of the HBCUs, now Hampton, Morehouse, Spelman, some of the better, because they're like 115 or 112 of these things. Some of them have money, but not all of them. They're HBCUs and they're HBCUs or HBC screws. And, and I'll just give you the kind of corruption that happens. Let me give a Howard story. Do you know that Howard University, not too long ago, when people made it seem as if they were giving money to Howard, what they were doing was giving Howard University their life insurance policies that would mature when they died. And Howard was counting the life insurance policies as cash on hands and on the books, which is falsifying how much their endowment was. And it's just kind of just constant corruption and chicanery. Do y'all know that Howard University had a person from the board of Enron, the energy crook people that was stealing in California, that an Enron executive was managing Howard University's financial destiny when Enron was being shown to be corrupt? Did y'all know Tom Lay, the crooked person from Enron, was put on the board of Howard University?
Yeah, damn.
I mean, when he's disgraced, I'm like, but he's a white businessman. Who cares if he steals? Who cares if he's white? This is the kind of stuff that happens at these places. And all of them have varying degrees of this. I'll give you a Bowie University experience. The head of the political science and government department, his name will come to me in a second. Do you know, I recall, this is in 2007, I went into the professor's class to speak to him, and the assignment that his students were doing, this really happened, y'all. He had young people filling in maps of the United States.
Is this in college?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes. Yes. And give me a second. I'm not remembering the professor's name, but it'll come to me. And that was school. I did that shit in the second grade. By the way, this is the person that fired me. So I'm like, how? And by the way, I was replaced by an African from Nigeria who may have had a degree.
May have.
may have had a degree. Yes, sir. I applied to another one, Benedict, one of those things in South Carolina. The person in charge of hirings from Nigeria, he told me black people were incapable of teaching Black American history. And I could just give you, talk to people. If you're bright, the best black scholars in this country typically do not go to HBCUs. Why? These people, how do you get jobs? Because you're a Greek or you're a Mason or you fuck people, and you put a person that may have a high school diploma over folks with PhDs, and they mess with you because they're haters. And all kinds of odd stuff goes on. It's very, very strange. You talk about Cornel West, whether you like him or not, none of those people are at HBCUs. And you have to ask yourself why. Because they don't pay, they don't offer the same stuff. You can't do certain things. If you're at a white college, for example, Francis Cress Wilson got fired by Howard University. Tony Brown got fired by Howard University. W.B. Du Bois got fired by Howard University. Hold on. The Carter G. Woodson, Toni Morrison got fired by Howard University. You name them great, they tend to get screwed at these black schools. They're not wanted. They give people hell because you have small-minded, weak Negroes, and they destroy the truly gifted people. Everett Just, one of the greatest black scientists in the history of our community, suffered terribly at Howard University. E. Franklin Frazier, the greatest sociologist, arguably, suffered at Howard. When you go to these places and you want to help or take care of students, you suffer. So they have a big problem with cancer at Howard because of dealing with the politics and the bullshit at these schools. This is what black people do to each other, or what niggas do to black people. So I'm not against the existence of the black colleges and universities, but they need to be cleaned up, which is why people tend to forget that black campus rebellions often happen where young black people have to kick boomer boule niggas out. People need to understand that Howard University had police come and beat its students. Why? Because they wanted jazz and gospel music on campus. Dwan. Wow. My mother is one of the last surviving original founding members of the Howard University Gospel Choir. And you couldn't sing gospel music on Howard's campus. If they found out, they would throw you out of school. That's why Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway, I mean, people are tortured. If they caught you playing jazz or gospel off campus, you could be thrown out of school.
Wow. They're like,
we need to understand that these institutions, Howard up until 70, you had to send a picture. They didn't want too many dark-skinned people in the school. These HBCUs in many instances perpetuate degeneracy, violence, colorism, coonism. And it still does this to varying degrees. If I said to you that people got angry because it goes on and on. Black colleges aren't teaching people to stand and fight. They're teaching people to be obedient and do whatever you're told to get that damn job. It is not pushing leadership. They don't want that. It's bad for business. So I'm not knocking the existence. I have 2 degrees from an HBCU. But I'm saying to you, even now, Howard, with its Caribbean president who hates Black American students, called on the Howard University police to beat Black American FBA students for calling him out for hating Black Americans' guts, not everywhere, but in the Crampton Auditorium, which functions as the chapel. You're going to have students beaten in church.
Beaten in church at a Black university. God.
And 2018, I'm not talking about the 60s. And I'm saying to you, these, or in 2018, the same thing. The gay mafia and the financial aid office was giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to gay students, and heterosexual students were having to eat out of dumpsters and soup lines. We have a problem, people. We got to clean up the shit on the inside of us. That's why we can't get anywhere. You know, I had one of my great aunts or someone had a problem where they couldn't shit, and it killed them. If you can't get the shit out your body, you're going to die. As a people, if we can't get the shit out of our HBCUs, these fucked up pedophile control Masonic churches, if we can't get the shit out of our midst, we're already dead. We should just let the white supremacists come and get us. In fact, we should give them red, black, and green AR-15s to shoot us all.
That's some real talk. Because, and it's funny, like, it's crazy because you, again, Dr. Short, you're coming in after you hit me on all the points that we covered before you got in here about cleaning the house within. You know, I was talking about the church and the HBCUs. I see them as both one and the same.
Yeah, it's the same group of deviant, pedophile, boule type people that run them.
It's a system.
I mean, the Jamal Bryant, the TD faggot Jakes. That's a punk ass nigga if I've seen one. You know he's a punk.
I don't want to throw
he's a punk.
I don't want to throw the system out because for something that lasts that long, that means it has a system that works. You know, it's the only way any institution can last over 100 years is to have a level of organization that sustains itself. So I want to keep that structure, but the way it's behaving right now, the way it operates, the way it deals and function, it's outlived its purpose and it's lost track. It's lost track of its purpose. I've also outlived it. It's lost track of
But what if its purpose is what if its purpose is to screw us? There's a very good book called Schooling for the New Slavery.
Hold on. I got you. Hold on. We talked about that earlier, how there were institutions like that were created to be buffer institutions. We covered that, and what we were talking about overall is it's an institution that has a framework that can create some kind of a network to the people. And since it has that, the people who are within it, I know how you are with church. You're still a Christian, but you ain't taking that bullshit that the church gives out today. You have your own way of cleaning it up from within. And I think that if we're going to keep it around, we got to have that mindset of cleaning it up from within. I think if we keep cleaning it up, that's the only way that these structures, that these systems are going to be functional to us. But I know, Eve, you got your hand up. You had your hand up for a little bit. Go ahead.
Thank you. And dang to the person who just came off of mute, we were getting to you. Like I was just about to get to you. But since you wanted to be rude, I guess you don't want to speak anymore. Dr. Short, you said Hampton had money. Hampton's taken that money and given it to refugees and aliens and all sorts of not us. When they have money, they don't serve us. So I'm of the mindset, I grew up in church, but I've definitely removed myself from there. I think that a lot of systems are broken, and the only way that we fix it is we gotta let it burn, and then we can rebuild, or you can start to rebuild somewhere else. Like, my kids go to a black school. If you want to invest in black people, start with the babies. That's who needs it. All these people, all these adults who've decided to give their money away or to go into debt for a degree that's not going to pay out, they're lost already, and it's sad. But the babies, they're not lost yet, and they need more. They need us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to remind people the Tuskegee experiment, it's not just the city. It's the university that helped give the people syphilis. Tuskegee Hospital worked with the government in killing black folks down in Alabama. The HBCUs work with and partner with white power to hurt black people. At Southern University, it's a black college president that called in the police and all to massacre black students down there. This happens over and over again. These folks are not on the side. It's the former president of Shaw University who became President Howard, The main thing I always remember is that he was gay, and his wife and him used to fight in the emergency room, and she would always black his eyes. Cheeks, James Cheeks. He was so gay they had to give him a female chauffeur so he wouldn't get into trouble. It's real talk, y'all. And Swigert, the president of Howard, the reason he got removed was he was sexually harassing a male chauffeur. That's why they got rid of him. I think he's still at Howard Law School. I said it. These niggas won't dare take me. Let's go into court, niggas, because I'll win. I deliberately bother them. Because I know. Okay, punk ass people up in there. I mean, these places are dominated by deviants. People need to understand. When you say Hampton University used to have Indians go there, and they maintained segregation between black students and Navajo and Apache and other Indians that would come there. This is how these schools conform to white supremacy, which is why black students in 1924 rebelled against this kind of stuff that the Boule older generation blacks were putting. The book is called New Negro on Campus. If you can find a copy for under $50, buy it. Okay, I got mine. New Negro on Campus. Maybe should I send that to you, Sister Eve? Because I'm not making this shit up. And I need to remind people, by the way, the Black Student Rebellion in 1924 started because at Fisk University, the white people came on the campus of Fisk, took a student off of campus and lynched him in Springfield, Tennessee. And the school was telling the students to get over it and don't do anything about it.
Damn.
This is the kind of stuff that these people do they still do it. And this is what we've got. And the other things I can say about HBCUs, they tend to have super high rates of sexually transmitted diseases because they really don't talk to people about family life or how men and women should respect each other. Or you have high rates of deviancy. Morehouse, Spelman, Howard. Oh, yes, you do. And all the sentimental niggas out there that don't like me, fuck you. Because I'm right. I'm so right. I don't care. When you tell the truth, it hurts a certain sort of black trader. You know, they have a song, can't nobody do me like Jesus. Can't nobody betray us like coons. And the one thing coons hate is the truth. And that's why I said it's raw and it's difficult and it's mean because it's traumatizing. They're afraid, folks listening. If more of us start being honest like I am, the truth will cause these niggas to die of aneurysm. It'll trigger that damn jab in them with the 5G. And we'll be purged of this scum.
Definitely send me whatever you have that got me kicked out the space. Do that, please. Do it now.
Okay.
Oh shit! I don't even see other calls. Oh shit!
He said, "Can I share?" And I got kicked all the way out the space.
Okay, there you go. You got the calls thing going again. I'm over here getting my ass kicked in Madden listening online. Nah, but that's real talk, Dr. Short. Because when it comes down to it, the only way we're gonna get like where we got to get to is through cleaning this shit up from within. And we got to have these kind of in the source of these conversations because these assholes have been able to exist because the reasonable amongst us just have been ignoring it and letting it happen. Like we've had better things to do. Now we're addressing it and we see how they're reacting. You know what I mean? They came out, the same people that was talking about celebrating Warnock victory today. We ain't heard from these niggas in 2 years. I mean, well, no, we heard from them a little bit on the election night. You know what I mean? When a few black people got in offices. But overall, we don't hear from these people. And it's very evident as to which philosophy is winning out as far as the betterment of black people. So I just think we're on the right path. I see we got somebody that's requesting. Let me go ahead and hit that. Oh, yeah, they're there. We got a T-Way.
Yeah, T-Way is who came off mute before.
Okay.
We let him speak, but maybe they're a little bit nicer now. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
tried to come up earlier, but I couldn't hear nothing since I came up. I guess y'all being too real up here. But
So,
I listen to quite a bit, and I love hearing the professor here. It reminds me we don't have any weapons. Like they have the ADL. We have groups, but we don't have no advocacy. It reminds me like we need weapons out here. Maybe civil lawsuits, regular lawsuits. That we need a Freeman's Bureau or Freeman's ADL version of this shit. 'Cause we don't have no way to fight back, inside or outside. And until we have some real weapons or we put some boots on the ground, they're not dying of aneurysms. They're gonna keep on living long lives. I don't know about karma, but karma ain't catching up to nobody. It seems like we need some weapons out here, and we can donate. We can get these coons elected. We need to get these fucking our own lawyers elected, or start forming some real weapons out here so we can fight back.
Wait, who did he say is living a long time?
All white
Who's
supremacy,
living a long time?
all these systems been in place since this country's been in place. I know.
I would challenge you to look at the census and then look up the fact that they're in the red right now. In all the major countries over the world, they're in the red. They're not, the numbers aren't there. The math ain't mathing. I was listening to Dr. Winters, Dwan. He
yeah,
was talking about the census. Did you see that one?
not yet. That's what I'm planning to watch.
You definitely need to, because it's on. Look, I was going to talk about this later, so I'm glad it's being brought up now so I can re-listen and rewatch. But something crazy like the dominant society's numbers have gone up in increments of 20 million every 10 years, but our numbers are only going up 1 million every 10 years. But we're the ones having all the abortions and all of this. We're dying at these astronomical rates. Our numbers are steady at this 40 million, whatever number, that 14% of the population or whatever. But they're in the red, but they were supposed to have been coming up on this every 10 years. If you look back to like 1900 or 1870, again, check out Dr. Winters. He went into this heavy, like 5 days ago, I think, but the numbers are crazy and they don't add up. So I
And,
don't.
and on top of that, on top of that, we got to also understand this: the numbers. Not only is it a numbers thing. Sorry about that. Let you down. Sound like using a car wash. But when it comes to organizations, no. That's we in a new world, bruh. We them whole days of organizing and having this organization and that leader and this person speak for us. Hell no. We got to get that shit all the way out our mind. It ain't no organization. The organization is you, me, we, and because we do have power. Look at what's been happening. We've been speaking without an organization. We've been speaking just as a grassroots with a common code and a common ideology. Now California talking about $235,000 for every Black American that can trace their lineage to the year 1900. That's without an ADL. That's without the NAACP speaking of. Matter of fact, if the NAACP, SNCC, or NCOBRA, or any of them organizations do try to speak up for us, we gonna get up and be like, hell no, we ain't listening to these chicken fried niggas. So we gotta know that that whole looking for somebody else to do it, that whole looking for an organization, that shit played out like flat tops. You dig? It's over with. That's like bell bottoms. We gotta look at that shit like tie dye shirts and bell bottoms and aviator glasses. With you, is niggas you stuck in '72? Now I'm talking about you in particular. Just that ideology. That ideology is done, done, done. So we got to know that whatever we want to see happen around us, you got to be willing to be that. And you got to be the weapon. You got to be on Twitter. We had a sister earlier that was here that gave us some information on how to hit up these people in Congress. You know what I mean? And if you don't know, you can Google it. If you can't find it, you can Google your local representative, and you need to be the weapon. Whatever it is you want to see as Black folks, and I'm putting this up here, especially on us as Black men, as the leaders, we got to be the ones that create it. We got to be the ones that tear the shit down too. If it ain't going, we got to be the ones shaking the trees, and ain't nobody else gonna do it for us. But if everybody takes on that ideology of shaking the tree themselves, and enough of us shake them trees, trees gonna get shook, and we're gonna get what we want. And that's just what it is because we said so. We got our own we black and we said so too. We just gonna be pulling that card out. Everybody, when it comes to language, every individual, every group owns the power of fiat. The power of fiat is the ability to call things. That's what we call in communication studies. We call it the power of fiat.
Well,
if you go to church, they call it being, calling those things that be not as though they were. Same principle. Whatever it is that you want to create, you be the one, you put that, you throw that narrative into the mix, and you keep saying it, and you keep saying it until other people bend to your will. They ain't the only people that can do it. We can do it too. Damn that old excuse, well, English ain't our language. Well, goddamn, it's our language now. Our grandparents spoke it. Our great-grandparents spoke it. It ain't a language thing, because if it was a language thing, we wouldn't be having these Armenians and these people who learned the language 2 weeks ago coming over here kicking our ass. So we have the power to call those things out and to name things and to be it, and that's what we got to start exercising. But Eve, Nikki, who's next?
Dr. Short, I think, got kicked out and came back in. But as he did all of that, I shared all the books in the Jumbotron, Dr. Short. So they are all there for people to check out. And the next speaker would be the Black Bottom Line.
All right, cool. Go ahead.
Hey, appreciate y'all letting me up. Just listen to the conversation. I think a lot of it is good. I do slightly disagree with Brother Dwan about the necessity for any type of organization, and that's probably just us splitting hairs. I understand the ideology behind having a code or system of principles for people, but I think without hierarchy, you lend yourself to anarchy. And, that might just be a Booker T. Washington and W.B. Du Bois thing where we just kind of disagree. But I do agree wholeheartedly with the notion of moving towards, reparations. And we've been paying attention to everything that's going on in California. I'm down here in the South. And so we kind of look to more liberal states, kind of what you guys are doing, to kind of see how it will play here. Go ahead.
Real quick question. What organization got reparations on the books here in California?
Either my phone or your phone dropped out. Repeat that again, Brother Dwan.
What organization? Do you know what's the name? What organization, or if there was, what organization got reparations put in the books here in California?
Well, I know there's I believe there's a 9-person task force. The only person that I know.
Yeah. The task force is government. The task force was elected by the governor. I mean, what Black citizen organization got them to put together this task force?
Well, I know of.
There is no. And the quick answer is there was no organization. Now, another question: what has in Cobra, an organization that's for reparations? What books? What laws towards reparations that's talking actual dollars in any state in America have they got put on the books in Cobra?
I don't think in Cobra is a viable organization. Like I said, I don't know.
I only asked that question because I only asked that because I just want to set up something I want to say. The reason why I'm saying it is just I just go with nature. I'm like water. I go with the path of least resistance. When I can look around me and I see, hey, just an organized group of people, just say this law does fail. But I'll say at the end of the day, an organized group of people with a code got a law named in the way that's most constructive for us on the books, while an organization that was around for the last 50 years, it's done more. People have done more in the last 3 or 4 years with the code of conduct than organizations that are created to give us reparations have done in 50 years. So I'm only using that as an example to say that, you know what I mean? Okay, if you want an organization, fine, then make sure you be the one that started. But that's nothing that we wait on.
I understand your point with that. Back to your thing about the 9-person task force. I do know that Antonio Moore is one of the people on the task force. And I do know that has his hand somewhat in the ADOS organization, and I know that the ADOS organization wasn't a part of totally bringing that to fruition. But what I bring up organization is because I do think that a group of people having symmetry or synergy, kind of what FBA is doing, that
Hold on,
can get
you said Antonio
conversations started.
Moore?
Yeah, Antonio Moore is a part of the task force. I can't. Somebody.
Who is doing that? Is that the black bottom line doing that?
No, I don't know.
No, it's not me.
Because his mic was unmuted. Every time that happens, his mic unmutes.
Brother Dwan.
Well, I'll drop off and let Dr. Short speak, but I appreciate y'all.
Okay, Brother Dwan.
Yes.
I just want to give a point of history. As a student, I was the number 2 person in Cobra at Howard. And the biggest problem that we had from within Cobra was the national. They blocked us. There were 2 Negroes, male and female, who were in the United States military intelligence.
Oh, and I just checked real quick. Antonio Moore is not part of the task force. I just checked, but go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say that there were people from the United States military intelligence who were controlling in Cobra at Howard when I was there, because I know they did it to me. And I want to say also when I was at Howard and in Cobra, since he mentioned Antonio Moore, one of the persons that I could not get interested in Cobra was none other than Yvette Carnell. So, I mean, thank whoever put the canned laugh in there. I have real issues because you can judge people by their history. Do you follow? So, I mean, no matter, people can hate me, which I don't care. But if you were to look at my little teeny tiny life, no matter where I was, you could always see pushback against the system. As far as I could go, or find other like-minded people like yourself, or Sister Eve, Sister Nikki. I want to also say that the people from ADOS, I had a person, a very gay dude, back in 2019, explained to me that ADOS, they planned, in particular, to make certain that Black people voted Democrat straight down the ballot, period. So to me, and if I recall correctly, when I was a student at Howard 25 years ago, Yvette Carnell worked for the Democratic Party. So if the Democratic Party is a party of reparations, and I don't think any party is, they haven't shown it. And ADOS and all the other people, let us be honest, they're good people. There were good people that joined overall, but I always keep emphasizing people listening. Leadership, 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 leadership. Who's paying? Who's helping? Who put these people in position? Once you see that there's a pattern of things taking off, being shaped and developed by people outside of our community, whether that's that homoerotic Mr. Potato Head Warnock or the Special Olympics Lifetime Achievement Champion, Herschel Walker. Who's behind them? There's no grassroots person, Black, that ran. And you see this everywhere. The only places in which you see grassroots people do stuff, frankly, it's in music, and even they get compromised by hairy-bellied Jews. We have a struggle for the heart and mind of our people, and we have to engage in it. Organizations that are truly independent for us and by us must be created. Anyone that brings up the NAACP needs to understand that it is basically the dick ring of the ADL. It was created as a precursor for the ADL. When you say these organizations, the Urban League initially started out as an organization to protect Black women. At its core, it got hijacked again by Jewry. When you name these things, I should call it Southern Catamite Leadership Conference, may start it off Black, it gets hijacked either by white money or by Negroes that want to assimilate. Our typical Black organizations, unlike, say, the Republic of New Africa or the Black Panthers, at least in its heart, although they were internationalists and they were not nationalists, the Republic of New Africa, groups like this, those groups tend to get shot down. People tend to get jailed. They tend to get stopped because it's understood it is really a struggle of the mind. And that is where the battle must be waged. And anybody that's not using their mind, Black is a traitor. And any of us that get excited when we see something without thoroughly researching and investigating, if we haven't, I don't even speculate or guess who's somewhere unless I know. That is part of how we are controlled. We don't often know what we talk about or what's going on. We think we know. Thinking's not enough. For me to think that a gorilla's navel is their vagina, whereas I did engage in thinking, it was thinking that didn't have the outcome that we wanted. Are you understanding me? Same way, if you thought your woman's navel was the thing, you're never going to have a kid. Even if she has a deep navel that feels good, a nice temperature, it's not going to produce a baby because it's not the right place. We've got to get into precision in our thinking, having discipline, thoughts, and understanding, not based on emotional feelings, but what actually is. And if we don't do that, that's why we have so many boys and girls that think that they can be a man one year, a woman the next. This is it's decimating us. And people understand that this moral relativity and this emotional stuff is one of the main ways that they keep us slaves. And you have to ask yourself, everyone listening, do I think and act like a slave, or am I an enslaved person that's resisting? They're two different things. I may be enslaved, but I'm not a slave. I hate this shit. I mean, I will burn everything down I can. A slave will say, man, well, this is a nice building. Our ancestors built the White House. Right? Anyway, I'll stop. Go on. Take over, brother.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because we have to get back into thinking that way. We have to get back in the point of, are you going to be comfortable with it? Because there are certain people, we just got to understand, certain people are just going to be comfortable being slaves. And if that's who they are, that's who they are. You can't change the next person. Only thing you can do is identify who is who, and then you make the decision on whether or not you want to spend your time around those kind of people. And what level of attention are you going to give these people who think this way? And so we got to get to that point to where we're serious about it on that level, And so with that being said, I see Eve, you just had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yes, definitely. To the guy who was speaking before Dr. Short was speaking, I love that you were asking him questions, because when people start talking, you know how much they know, and you picked up on it as soon as we picked up on it at the same time. And I think sometimes these spaces are probably good if people have questions. Like, you don't have to come in and act like you know everything. Like, maybe
Yeah.
you heard something and you would like to know more about it, but you don't know where to start. And I think that maybe if he had asked some questions, I wouldn't have been laughing so hard, because I hate to do that. Like, I'm not trolling. I'm, maybe I am trolling. I don't know. Like, when you don't know certain stuff and you're supposed to be from the area, and I know more than what you know, or you say you're interested in it, but you don't know what's going on. That's funny to me. Like, funny style. I don't know.
And it's like, and there's a lot of people who we got to just know this. It's a lot of, purposeful misguidance going on. And at all points, we got people coming into these rooms who, sometimes we got people cycling into these rooms who haven't been in these type rooms before. They're around the jackasses. I was at the Improv on this past Monday night kicking with all the comedy friends, and I was listening to some of the shit that niggas was talking about. And I was just like, God damn. There still are circles where they ain't talking about shit. You know what I mean? And then you get people who want to find out more. And so they gravitate towards places like this. And that's why the reason why I want to ask them those questions are because sometimes we just got to think for ourselves for a moment. You know what I mean? Because we've been passed down all of these cliches. We've been told our whole lives that we need leadership. You know what I mean? We've been told these things. And those things do sound good. But sometimes you need to ask yourself a few questions, okay, and let's just look at what's happening, because going back to what Dr. Short said, we have to be accurate about our information. And the best way to be accurate is to look at what's going on and ask questions and see what's been working and what doesn't work. If you see a particular state or a particular city or whatever got something on the ballot, or at least in discussions, that's going to be beneficial to the greater good of Black society, the first question you ask is, okay, how did that get done? And through asking how that got done, you're going to be like, okay, was there any organization that did it? Who was it? No, was it protesters? Was it people? If there were organizations, what's the name of those organizations? Who lead the organizations? You got to act like what Nina Ford says. You got to be scientific about it and ask it and do some follow up. And then you go and say, okay, well, there are organizations out there that say they're for us. Okay, now let's Black folks, we love sports, don't we? All right, let's go back and check the stats. This organization has been here for this amount of years. It's gotten what has it gotten passed? What has it gotten put on the books? What tangible resources has fill in the blank organization done for us? And you go down the line from organization to organization to organization, and you start to tally up the total. And but when you do that, what you find with us is when you go back to these organizations and start tallying up the total, you find out these motherfuckers ain't putting no wins on the board. They just been running their goddamn mouth, huffing and puffing, yip yapping and jaw jacking. When every time we got something done, it was just an oftentimes unorganized group of people that just had a similar mindset of a common goal of getting fill in the blank accomplishment done. And then when you see that, and then you go back and ask yourself about organizations, okay, in the 60s, we had all these organizations, we had these leaders, but damn, every time we get a leader, it seemed like either they get killed off or they get or their character gets assassinated to the point to where they lose credibility. So do I want to keep putting somebody out there to get killed off, either physically or psychically? And what are these other people doing in this country? Do they have leaders? What? Who are the what? Well, do white people have a leader? Who's the leader of white people? What's the white organization that says, "Hey, we're going to advocate for the for whiteness"? That's against that's outside of the government. And how effective are they? You know what I mean? So we got to ask these type questions, and then we ask these type questions, you realize, okay, the people who are willing got a certain code of conduct. Now they have organizations that they later may have created, but when it comes to white organizations like Jewish organizations, they're allowed a certain level of freedom that when it comes to Black organizations are not allowed. You know, when apparently when Gaddafi tried to give the Nation of Islam that $5 billion, the government stepped in and said no. Has the government ever stepped in? And I'm not advocating for the Nation of Islam because I don't give a damn what religion you are. I'm just using him as a point. Did the government ever step in when Israel said we're going to give this particular Jewish nation or whatever a certain amount of money? No. So we got to understand that, okay, when we tally up the total, if I'm looking for an organization, if I'm looking for a leader, it's a good chance once that organization gets compromised or once that leader gets killed off or whatever, the mission dies. But every mission that's held true throughout a prolonged period of time has had some sort of a common ideology. So maybe we need to do that more. And that's just where I come from. But go ahead, Eve. I see you got your hand up.
Well, actually, he came back up. Do you want him to come back up?
If you want to speak, yeah.
But okay, so before he speaks, I guess my point, if you're not asking the questions like you just said, and a lot of people aren't asking questions, they just hear that something's happening and then they just kind of go with what they knew, and the appropriate respect is not being put out there on the right people's names. So NEMI nominated producers and other mushmouth type of people are getting credit for shit that they didn't do. Or you got people like Jim Clyburn at the Fish Fries saying, HR 40's been around since before I was born. And that's supposed to have been something to move the needle. And that's just not fair.
You got to watch out for the dangerous information, because on that task force, hell, my particular city councilman, Stephen Bradford, somebody who I've corresponded with, because I'm in my local politics over here. He's responsible for sponsoring that bill, not Antonio Moore. So we gotta make sure we have it, accurate information when we speak these type topics. And because again, it's not personal. It's to me, I'll give a damn. I'm not here to hurt nobody's feelings. I'm not here to sound smart. I ain't here for none of that shit. I'm just here because we have a problem, and I'm trying to play my little ass part to help fix that bullshit ass problem. That's my only agenda when it comes to this. And I think our discussions that we have like this go a long way. But if you want to go ahead and speak, God damn it, I got a delayed game. Anybody want to go ahead?
I noticed that the black bottom line came up. Just try not to put sound effects on. Just go ahead and speak. You can unmute.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? I don't have any sound effects on. Can y'all hear me? Does it sound clear? Are y'all getting some feedback?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. So and I do want to publicly accept my admonishment. What I meant to say was I don't know if it was like the Dr. Katrina lady or like the Professor Cheryl Harris, one of the commissioners. To my knowledge, I think they used some of his research, but y'all are right. He's not on the commission or the panel. But just to my idea about organization, and y'all might be familiar with this. I'm sure Dr. Short probably is as well. When I think about the benefits of organization, I don't necessarily tie it to sending one person out to die on a hill for us. I don't even think it has to be a quote unquote leader of the organization, more so than like a brain trust. Similar to, I always equate the effectiveness of leadership back to the Federalist Society. And I don't know how many people in the room are familiar with that, but just kind of the brief history, like back in like the early 80s or late 70s, they were trying to get a Supreme Court justice passed, and basically like the left colluded to like not get this conservative judge passed, approved to be on the Supreme Court. And so a lot of lawyers from like Yale and Harvard Law, they all like came together. Some people in government, they're like, we're going to form this thing called the Federalist Society, and we're going to groom college and law students. We're going to groom them into being Supreme Court judges. And we're going to basically dominate the Supreme Court by having this organization fund and plan
We
around.
get the history of it, brother.
Go ahead.
We for the most part understand the history of it, but go ahead and get to what you wanted to say. I want to give you time to what you
I
want
was
to say.
just saying that for people to have a more modern term of like what effective organization looks like. What do you think about FBA or ADOS or whatever, however people identify, having some sort of structure like that, just to say like this is what our plan is for this, and coalescing our power in some sense to where
Let me give you an answer.
There's sort of hierarchy.
Let me throw in another part of that equation, because it's sometimes that when we talk about these organizations, sometimes we always got to throw in this X factor in this equation, and that's the system of white supremacy. Now, when we talk about the Federalist Society, what was the Federalist Society's ultimate goal? Was then and still is now. Their ultimate goal is to maintain white supremacy. Their ultimate goal, now they have their own way of maintaining white supremacy that's different than the liberals, is different than even other factions of the Republican Party. Because the Federalist Society, oftentimes, especially back then, they're considered extreme for the Republican Party. But at the end of the day, the Federalist Society ultimate goal is to maintain the system. And so when you're dealing with organizations who just have differences of opinion on how to maintain the system, they're going to be allowed to have a certain leeway to where they will not be targeted for destruction from the United States government. That's the reason why the NAACP and Cobra and SNCC are still around, because these are organizations that really don't want to end white supremacy. They just want to have their way of controlling. There's the Boule. These are organizations that just want their way of controlling Black society. So if your organization is centered around maintaining the system, but there's just a difference of opinion in how to maintain the system, you're going to be given different leeway than organizations who want to come around and destroy the system. Organizations that want to destroy the system will not be allowed to exist. They will not be able to have a 501c. Well, not for long. They can fight
Right.
one, but at some point, they're going to use one of their trillions of laws within that 501c to say, hey, you made a mistake. You didn't give us a receipt on that document 15 years ago. So your organization is no more. So we got to know that since our point of view is allowing the system to destroy itself and to not to let this shit burn and recreate something that's more favorable to that doesn't exclude us based on our skin color, that is an immediate threat to the system. So the system will not allow that type of ideology to exist in organizational format. The only way that type of ideology can exist in a system that's allowed to support itself is in a format that's not organizational. It has to be in a way that they have no central target to attack. They have no organization. Because once we create an organization, we're dealing with the masters of disorganization. That's what they spent. They spent 280. It took well over 250 years for them to get from Virginia to conquering all of California. It took more time for them to get coast to coast than this country's been in existence. They're not going to allow an organization that stopped 200 plus years of hard work to exist within its system. So that's why we have to know whatever we're doing, whatever we're moving forward, and we know that they're listening to us right now. But what we're talking right now is science. This is science. You know, when it comes to groups of people who have a certain type of mindset, you can't stop that. You cannot stop an ideology. You cannot stop a thought process. You cannot stop a way of being. Organizations, these motherfuckers can stop that all day, every day, twice on Sunday. They'll motherfucking add a new month to the year to stop your ass from organizing. So we must always have that in our mind. And sometimes certain black organizations don't consider that factor. And that's why I said we had to say, man, but thank you for being clear. Dr. Short, you want to speak on that?
Yes, you said everything. I sent a book called Free the Land on the Republic of New Africa, a group that you don't hear about. I want to go further to say America has hundreds, if not thousands, of black political prisoners in this country. None of these groups that anybody talks about is really doing, I'm talking about the groups that you hear about, fighting to release black political prisoners. And even the ones that say they are have white lawyers and everything else that take forever to get shit done. Real talk. We need to be asymmetrical in our struggle. I do see a need for above ground organizations, and I see an even greater need for underground organizations. Like in Ireland, they've got Sinn Féin, which is the political wing, and you have the Irish Republican Army. Black folks need to learn how to do two things. I would always say to my students, God operates in balance. And I told them, but you don't. It says the way you function, it's as if you have one eye, one testicle, one ear, one lip, one nostril. And we as a people oftentimes are just one-sided. It's all one party or the other, you know, or God either made man or woman, or there are a million different genders. We're very, very unbalanced. So both and versus either or. But you know what's interesting? Dr. Edwin Nichols, master of psychiatry, educated in Austria, created a whole concept to explain the epistemology of black people and whites and others. And the logic of white people, he said, is dichotomous. It's either or. He said the African logic system was diunidal, both and. Whenever you meet a fucked up black person, they think like a white person, either or. You meet a cool black person like Dwan, it's both and, either or. I meet a lot of intellectually crippled black people. They think like white people. Their approach to everything is white, trying to solve a problem created by white people. You can't solve a problem thinking exactly like the person that hates you. Not to me, that does not mean you don't need to understand the logic of the people that hate you or how they do it. You may do methods like what your enemy does, but you can't think the same way, because if you're thinking the same way, you'll get the same outcome. So, no, well done, Brother Dwan. I'm going to leave this alone. But I do have to say, Sister Sean, Wazi, please have her speak. She's my backup Wazi sister here in D.C., and we need to encourage, in particular, the main people who support these fucked up organizations are Black women who are notorious for empowering shit to stay the same, except for the Wazis, the Ida B. Wells. And so I always honor my Ida B. Wells is Sister Sean. Could she speak for a minute, Brother Dwan and Sister Nikki and Sister Eve?
If it's real quick, 'cause I was getting ready to end the room. But if it's real quick.
Well, they'll end it on Sean. You know, she's got enough butane to be a refinery.
Yeah, I gotta leave in a second. But if she's gonna be quick, then yeah, no problem. But she has to send a request out. I'm over here and say I'm playing video game.
I hope she's not going off on somebody in another room.
Yeah, probably so. But no, because I want to go ahead and end it anyway.
Okay.
Because you said I want to get back to my co-host. Anything y'all got to say? Nikki?
No. Thank you so much.
No problem. Eve, you got
much respect to the room. I thought it's definitely necessary conversation, so I appreciate being able to participate.
For sure, I appreciate it. And that's the thing that comes down to this. You know, there are multiple ways to approach it. And my point of view is, you know what I mean, do it yourself. And if you're the kind of person that thinks an organization is the way to go, that means you have to be the one that goes and joins an organization that's already out there, and you be the one that helps fix that organization from within, or you create your own organization if you think that's what needs to be done. But either way it goes, the answer is don't wait. The answer is whatever you feel needs to be done, you be willing to pick up the mantle and do it. And I'm not even going, even when it comes to the NAACP or the Boule or the Masons or whatever, look, organizations like that, if you want, if that's what you feel you need to do, or you're already part of one of those organizations and you feel a certain sense of loyalty, then you be the cog in the wheel. You be the one that disrupts the machine. You be the one that takes the organization of those, or you can be like a Booker T. Washington, say one thing in the front, but then at the end of the day, once you acquire those resources, you taking those resources on the back end to help out Black people. You know, you can play that role too. All roles are necessary. As long as your role is for the empowerment of Black people first, if you feel you need to join one of those organizations for it to happen, make sure you're the one in the organization changing how that organization is run. Because all organizations is like anything else. It's like fire. Fire can burn, fire can warm. Water can drown, water can give you life. And that's how I look at all things. They're all just tools. You know, screwdriver can fix things that need to be screwed in, but it ain't gonna deal with anything that needs a hammer. But it's all tools. And at different points in time, all tools at some point need to get used. You don't say I love screwdrivers, so I'm not gonna buy a hammer. Do you do that? You don't say, okay, I want to make me a desk out of wood, so I'm gonna get a chainsaw, but I'm not gonna get a sander. No, you get all the goddamn tools, but at the same time, all tools aren't being used at the same time. You know what I mean? Sometimes, you know, it's a time to sand. It's a time to use a wedge. It's a time to use a router. It's a time to use all the different tools. But whatever tool it is whatever tools you stack inside your game, make sure you use it to empower Black empowerment, and don't argue with other niggas on why you right and they wrong. That's some ego bullshit. Once you get into one of those arguments, I'm right and you wrong, and I'm doing it this way because I went to that school. If you talking about what school you went to and how much money you make and why you this, and you arguing with another Black man that's trying to stop white supremacy, then you a goddamn fool. So don't be a fool and just be the person that needs to be, that's going to be the solution that you speak of. And if y'all don't have nothing else to say after that, we're going to be up out of here. Follow me on YouTube at DwannB. This is going to be posted on YouTube. My same ad I have here is my same ad on YouTube. Follow that. And this is going to be posted if you miss any part of the discussion and all that good shit. All right, y'all. I'm out.